Well, I say every day. It's a getting closer to taking a bath with my fucking toaster.
Greetings. Welcome to episode number 75 of Screaming into the Void, where we talk about whatever the hell we feel like. My name is Samuel the Infamous, and with me are my co-hosts, Ryan.
What's going on? If I have mic issues during the stream, I do apologize. So just bear with me.
It's clear right now.
Is it?
Yep.
What about the applause?
Yeah.
Sound good? Everything?
Yeah.
Okay. That's so I don't know, dude. I got a new camera, and it looks better than the old camera. The old camera's like 4 or 5 years old, and then it just tried it out last night, and everything's been out of whack ever since. So I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
No,
Every once in a while, Ryan has a problem with a dude named Mike. It's kind of weird.
You little son of a bitch! I hate you.
We also have joining us, Double Made Me Do It.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you guys had a good turkey day with family, friends, what have yous.
Yeah, it was good. It's good.
Yep.
Definitely ate way too much. But it was so delicious. I just couldn't stop. I think I probably ate 5,000 calories that day. That's not a joke.
Yeah.
Nice,
Food
nice.
coma is a real thing.
Yeah, food coma is in fact a real thing. I had a pretty good one myself. Ended the night in a just above sub-zero temperature garage playing darts with a bunch of drunkards who were all armed.
Jeez.
I called them family.
There you go. That'll do it. Yeah.
So
That'll do it.
it was a good time though. You know, nobody got hurt and everybody had plenty to eat and all that. It was a relaxing evening actually, and so I'm glad for that. I hope everybody in chat also had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm glad to be back. There are some panel members who will not be with us today due to real life circumstances. Most notably, the ladies, Nomi is unavailable, and I believe Gal is still gallivanting around the country like a maniac. So, you know, whenever she's done with that, she'll be back on the show.
Yeah, I think right now she's actually hunting like Bambi or something. She was going hunting, I think. So
Yeah. Yep. You got to get them while they're young.
Wow.
It's the tenderest meat. You never had veal?
I have had veal, but the way you said that was
Yeah. I might have been channeling my inner Stalin there a little bit. So, fun story, and I know this got brought up briefly on Ballbusters last night. We also talked a little bit about it on Abyssal Musings. I put out a clip video from our last episode of Star Trek Engage yesterday at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I went to bed. When I woke up, I had a notification from YouTube saying that this content had been removed for violating their policy on hate speech, which was,
Yep.
you know, super fun. And further than that, while I'm only getting a warning and not a strike because it's first offense, if it happens again in the next 90 days, I will be getting a strike. And they want me to take a little online struggle session so that they can be sure that I learned my lesson.
Yeah, it's your Maoist little struggle session there. You were a very bad boy for saying hateful things on the internet.
Yeah, that's not going to happen though. I'm not doing that. I am. I can get as pissy about that as I want. I'm not going to sit through that shit. Not
I
re-educating
mean,
me.
is it optional? Because when I got a copyright strike, my first time, I had to do this video training to learn how to not get a copyright strike again. It wasn't optional, it was mandatory. I couldn't upload until I did it.
Well, this is the second stream that we've run on this channel since then, so I'm assuming that it is optional.
That's interesting. I got to be honest. I'm kind of shocked by that they're giving you that leeway.
Me too. I tested this last night with Abyssal Musings. I was not sure they were going to allow me to stream, but they did. So here we are.
What did Dermy say that was considered hate speech?
He wants to put
Something
Adam in
about
an
an
oven.
oven.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Wants to turn it into a
he
turkey.
hates, he
Yeah.
hates, you know,
He wants Adam to take let's just say a certain kind of shower.
yeah, it's a little early in the show to be repeating exactly what he said, but
Yeah.
it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are interested, because I had considered re-uploading it to like Twitter or some shit because they wouldn't take it down there. I did a show with Static 2020 this morning, and he was kind enough to let me know, and I see him in the chat there, that because I don't pay attention to my Rumble, I just use that to mirror stuff to back stuff up. That he saw it on Rumble, and it got the URL got captured and it got uploaded to Rumble this morning, which is interesting because they have not uploaded a number of live streams in the last month and a half that were a whole lot less offensive. But it's there. So if you want to go see it, the link to my Rumble is in the description below. It is up there. I did not waste 3 hours making a thumbnail for nothing, which I'm super happy about.
3 hours.
Yeah, the thumbnail took longer than editing the video did.
Jesus, I'd spend like 5 minutes on a thumbnail. Like,
I have fun with it and I play around with ideas and all that stuff. And eventually when one comes together, then I try to get it as good as possible given my meager and limited skills. And there are some things I'm looking at now, looking at it that I screwed up on, but whatever. It's fine. It looks good. I like it. I'm pretty happy with it. It's basically a bunch of dermy faces protesting with fun signs.
well, and the thing that's even funnier too is that Dermy is a member of a very protected class, and these are the kind of people that YouTube caters to, right? The whole entire world
Oh.
is catering to these specific kind of people, and for it to be what he said out of everything that happened on that show is quite ironic.
I couldn't believe that shit. So, chap, I posted on Twitter. I was like, hey, so as it turns out, YouTube doesn't have a sense of humor at all. And Ryan responded to that by tagging Team YouTube and saying that Dermy is a member of the LGB blah 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 blah, and that this isn't right. And I'm just like, I couldn't hold my shit, and I started giggling because I was like, I can't believe he fucking said that.
You know what? They want to use that garbage as a baseball bat to hit us over the head with it. So I literally have turned around and started using it as like a freaking mallet just to pop them underneath the mouth. Because every time like one of these weirdos tries to like, say some snarky crap about how, we're all these things. And it's like, really? It's so strange that whatever. And it's just like, yeah, so no, I had zero chill about that. And it's probably why Team YouTube didn't respond is because they knew I was literally clocking them on the mouth with it.
Yeah, it was. They didn't get back to me either on this one, and it's fine. It's whatever. I just wanted to put it out there. I was like, look, I did put out a video for you guys this week. It got taken down, and now we know that it's still available on Rumble. And if all else fails, it's not like I don't have it on my hard drive.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, man. I got zero chill about that. Like it's you're either about the freedom of speech or you're not. And it just seems like it's just at every turn they're not.
Well, they're not, and we know they're not, and that's fine. Static did give me an idea this morning that I might try. I might go back and re-edit the video without cutting anything out per se, and just putting in like bleeps wherever Dermy says something fucked up.
Mhm.
Because I think that might actually turn out pretty funny.
Just replace all Dermy's thing with Jabba the Hutt voice.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
He's a whole no. You're like, what?
That's almost a better idea. Anyway, so that kind of leads into the topic for today, the main topic, which is Congress recently approved a plan to basically give the FCC control over the internet in the United States.
No, we're on.
Hello.
Sorry, what? Sorry.
Voices from the internet saying hello to whoever's in the room with Ryan.
Yeah, no, it's like,
Hi there.
dear God, like, fucking hate family.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Are you just now signing in? No. Like,
Say hi to Ryan's family chat. They're on panel 2 apparently.
yeah, apparently.
I think that's the
God.
first time I've ever heard anybody vocally on your side of the microphone before. Other people it's happened with. Like it happens with Larry occasionally. But it's
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that's like really like, come on.
right. Also, before I forget, because I have forgotten before and I am looking at it now, I'm going to say hello to the chat because
Shut
I'm
up,
not
should
always
do.
great about that.
Fucking
We're gonna
Shadow.
Start at the top with Shadow. Glad you made it, buddy. You made it before we did. So congratulations, I guess. We got Static in the chat also. And yeah, I did a one-on-one stream with him this morning over on his channel. Go check it out. It was an interesting conversation. We talked a lot about faith, and I think it was pretty good. I see Corey
Interesting
Cochran.
in the fact that Static was great and Samuel's a big gay bitch. So
You gotta belittle me everywhere we go. I mean, this is why I can't take you out shopping or public places.
yes, I do. You gotta belittle me everywhere we go.
I can't
See,
wait.
Zero
Man,
on.
you guys need to do a video where it's like you guys in marriage counseling.
Oh God, that'd be hysterical.
Why do you got to do that every time?
You never tell me I'm pretty anymore.
Right? How can you say that? How can you shame me in front of new people? Hi, Zeron. Good to see you. It's been a minute. No, I think that catches us up for now. So, so have you guys? What have you guys heard about this this new ruling about the FCC or the plan? Rather, it hasn't been implemented yet.
I think it's gonna hopefully be challenged in the courts and get shot down because yeah, it's essentially they do it like how they're doing. They do everything. No, we're just trying to get equity in the internet. We're just trying to, it's about getting people access to the internet but really what it is a huge power grab. They just want to control it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. They pulled the same thing with the radio and with television, and it's never a good idea when government says, hey, we're going to do a thing, and that's going to give us more control over stuff, and trust us, that will be good for you, because it never is.
Yep.
It's literally that fucking meme of hi, I'm from the government. We're here to help, and it's like, no, motherfucker,
Yeah.
you're not here to help. You are here to dick us all in the fucking ass.
Yep.
That meme, I believe, stems from a quote from Ronald Reagan where he said the scariest words in the English language are,
Yes,
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
and the meme actually came from Fallout 4, where the Vault Tech salesman shows up, but instead of being the whole pitch, he looks like a government agent, right? Because in Fallout, Vault Tech was in bed with the government. They were working with them, and it's like, hi, we're here to help, and it's like, no, the fuck, you're not. And if you know the lore behind Fallout, only 10% of the vaults that were designed to save people from the nuclear apocalypse were designed to do that. The rest were government ran experiments which were awful. And many times it ended up in massive bloodshed inside of a very enclosed space. So put your hands together for the government. That's right. Like the government can't. The government can't deliver your mail without making it a huge bureaucratic pile of shit. They just can't do it. They really can't. They can't do anything without screwing it up.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Not like it neither rain nor sleet nor snow, but God forbid there's red tape.
Yeah. And before I quit my stint at the post office, they were putting up, they put up posters about fucking Pride Month. I'm like, I don't care. This doesn't need to be in my workspace. And it's, this is the government, as in we're here to help, and it's just not.
Yeah. Devil, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, I think they're like one of the I read at some point one of the owners of one of the big brothels in Nevada was real bad on his taxes, and so the government seized it and actually tried to run the brothel, and they
Oh, I
fucked
remember
it up
hearing
and
about
it
that.
collapsed. So they can't even get a prostitution house right. You trust them with something more complex than you want to have sex with this woman? Yeah. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
pay
that's
us
pretty
money and
simple.
you can do her in the butt.
That's a pretty simple transaction. It's like, okay, it's $60 for this, $80 for this, $100 for this. Like, it's really not that hard. But the fact and it's not just our government, right? It's all world governments. They're all run by incompetent losers, who know probably less than your local school teacher does. And that's a true statement. And because higher education doesn't mean higher education anymore. It just means that I am severely lacking in common sense and most likely semi-retarded.
Yeah, yeah.
I may have a
I
slight
wouldn't.
bias though. I don't know, maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust them to run to the corner store, let alone run a whorehouse.
Yeah.
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 So, I saw Zeron was asking where's Joker. I assume he's sleeping.
He probably is sleeping. They've had some pretty long nights with the day job for him. Kind of like a
Mhm.
lot of us have had some long day shifts or wherever you may work. So I do believe that's what Nomi's doing right now. So they believe she is working. And she works
Mhm.
hard. So we
She
miss her a
is.
lot. But she does have two jobs. One of them is as a teacher. God bless her for that, because you know, it's yeah, the world of teaching is another government run thing that is being run into the ground because they're
Not
incompetent
to
losers.
give too much information away out of pocket or anything.
Well, she's been honest about that on stream, so
Yeah.
obviously I'm not going to say where she does it, but
Yeah. We also see have some other people coming in. We get to see Clifton 3D. Hey man, hail. And Grimm's Bar. Hola.
what is
Hola
going on there,
yourself,
gentlemen?
sir.
And hello
Um,
to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys.
yep, absolutely. So along with this, they'll be able to implement some stuff that is not great. Um, like, did you guys saw the thing where Nikki Haley was talking about putting everybody on blast on the internet, like getting rid of any kind of
anonymity.
anonymity
Yeah.
whatsoever?
Yeah, that killed her campaign for me right there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't probably voted for her before, but I sure as hell ain't now.
Yeah, no, I did see that. I think her campaign was kind of
Yep.
just kind of dead in the water. Um, but the simple fact, yeah, if you want to show the clip, dude, I see what you're doing. Yeah, show the clip, man, because it's crazy. Taking anonymity away from the internet is just like, these are some people have like high profile jobs and they make content on the side that, like, if they were to be found out, they would be fired because you can't,
Mhm.
because people in today's world, they can't separate politics from professional life or personal life, and they use it to try to destroy you. Like, well, oh, you voted for Trump, so well, you're your local fire chief. Well, you need to be fired. So we're going to petition
Yeah.
the city to have you fired because you voted for Trump. And it's like, it's horse shit, right? It's just garbage. I don't care if you voted for Joe Biden. I make jokes of like, dude, you owe me gas money. I don't think you actually owe me gas money. I think you're an idiot. I think you got duped, but it's your right to do so.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Go ahead, Devil.
I think she's in line with what the Republican Party wants, and that's why I don't consider myself a Republican.
Mhm.
Is because they dislike the Democrats. They want control too. They're the government entity that wants power over you. So she's saying exactly what they want, which is why she's has no chance of winning, because it's not what the people want. But also this idea of getting rid of anonymity, like you said, when they're all like, okay, expose yourself to people who want to hurt you, maybe want to hurt your family, but we won't protect you. We won't do anything to stop them. We're not gonna. What kind of shit is that? Put yourself at risk because bad words on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Screw that.
Hell, Bush, and you're absolutely right. The left does not believe in rights. And this is where they fuck up. Actually, is because I get the argument that like people can say whatever they want behind an anonymous avatar, like myself here, and oh my gosh, that might hurt somebody's feelings, or it might be something awful to listen to. Maybe you're kept up at night by all the horrible things you hear anons say online. Tough shit. It's part of life.
Yeah.
I don't have to expose myself to you or the government or anyone else, and no one else has to expose themselves to me. And in fact, it's probably better that they don't. And like the headline here is saying that Nikki Haley on explosion of anti-Semitism, and that's what she's talking about here, is politicians will use any excuse to restrict, curtail, or otherwise remove civil liberties, freedoms, and rights. And we can't allow that to fucking happen.
Never let a tragedy go to waste.
Yeah. Never let a good tragedy go to waste. Yep.
It doesn't matter if there's a rise in anti-Semitism in this country. You still don't get to trample on the First Amendment.
No,
period.
You don't.
Because that sucks for the people on the receiving end, but it's not like that sort of shit ebbs and flows. Like you guys remember 20 years ago after 9/11. Right?
Yeah.
All the shit that was slung about Muslims, a lot of whom were American citizens and born here, raised here, just as offended by the assault on our country as everybody else. And they went through a buckload of shit, and now it's not currently on them, right? The shit ebbs and flows. There's always an ebb and flow. There's always somebody who's in the spotlight getting shit on more than anybody else. It's not always going to be Jews. It's not always going to be Muslims. Right now, this is where it's at. And I ain't saying it's right, but this is where it's at. And it doesn't mean that we get to strip people of their right to free speech.
Yeah. I mean, 1,000%. It's just because you don't like what's being said, you're allowed to criticize that and say, hey, man, you're saying this, that makes you kind of a big piece of shit, right? Like that's kind of how freedom of speech works. But you don't get to moderate what other people say. That's horseshit. If somebody's saying some racist crap, it's everybody else's responsibility to say, that guy's a racist. Don't hang out with that guy. He's a jerk. And then he's ostracized from society for having legit bad opinions. That's okay. But saying, well, we need to tank this guy's whole entire life is just garbage. That's just garbage.
No, Shadow, unfortunately, no.
No, we can't moderate what Dermy says.
He's an American citizen. Free speech applies to Dermy too.
Dermy needs like a permanent beep button on him, right? Like just
even that back talker
hurts himself so much with what he says.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and listen to the clip here. It's short.
When I get into office, the first thing we have to do, social media accounts, social media companies, they have to show America their algorithms. Let us see why they're pushing what they're pushing. The second thing is every person on social media should be verified by their name. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat. When you do that, all of a sudden people have to stand by what they say, and it gets rid of the Russian bots, the Iranian bots, and the Chinese bots. And then you're going to get some civility when people know their name is next to what they say.
Accountability.
And they know their pastor and their family member is going to see it. It's going to help our kids, and it's going to help our country.
So wrong on all counts.
God, these people are so quick to just trample on your rights to privacy. It's insane. Well, you said something bad on the internet, so we need to know everything about you there, folks. Like, quite frankly, we need to know where you live. Like, because that's not gonna
Yeah.
that's doxing's not already an issue with anonymity.
Yeah, yeah, and they can't. This isn't about making people, accountable to their words. It's never been about it making people accountable to their words. It's about being visible to the government.
Yeah, it's
Like the first part of what she said about making the algorithms for social media platforms visible. There's a part of me that kind of wants to see that. There is, you know,
I
because
think that's
I'd like to see why they're fucking me over and so many other people, are seemingly arbitrarily. But
and I think to an extent that is acceptable because a corporation to a certain degree is very public, right? The individual is what is sacred in this country. Individual rights are to not be trampled, period. It's not the collective rights, it's the rights of the individual. That's the way the Constitution was written. That's the way the founding fathers meant it. So I get that about, like, well, Google is hiding shit, right? They think you got bad opinions, so they're going to suppress these certain words if you utter them. So they're gonna suppress your crap. That's fine with me. It doesn't mean that the government gets to go through all of Google's files and get every piece of knowledge that their employees have ever given to their employer, right? Like, that's not what that means. So there's a certain line. The corporation, to me, has a limited amount of rights, which most of the time, in my opinion, is to protect their said employees' personal private rights. But when it comes to the first part, I'm okay with. It's the second part where you're like, well, now we got to get them darn trolls out there because they're talking shit. And it's like, no, dude, you don't. It's their right to talk shit. If they want to call you a frumpy nosed stick woman who, quite frankly, looks like she's only about 20 years behind Nancy Pelosi, and you're gross, I get to do it. It's my right to do it.
mhm. See, it's one of the little known parts, or the little remembered rather parts of the First Amendment, is the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That means that we get to bitch at them when we think they're fucking up without fear of repercussion. This limits that.
hmm Well, it completely ends it, because then the FBI can show up in your house and be like, well,
Mhm.
Mr. Kane, we heard that you said some horrible things about our president, Joe Biden. Would you like to elaborate? It's like, well, what were the horrible things? I said, well, you're very critical of him there, Mr. Kane. And it's like, did I threaten him? No, I didn't threaten him. I said he's an old man who probably shits his pants on a daily basis and who can barely walk upstairs, who gets laughed at all the time around the world. Well, these kind of statements have led previously to possible violent action. So we just wanted to make sure that you weren't a threat. It's like, okay, well, now you're jumping from point A to point Q, and that's usually how that
Yeah,
works.
that's Minority Report shit. Arresting people before they've committed a crime because they might commit a crime.
Yes. And but that's exactly how this all, it's like, oh, well, we're doing it for your best interest, right? Because we don't want hurtful things said on the internet. And then it gets jumped to something very different. And it's like, okay, how did you connect these dots, dude? Like, where did you get this?
Mhm.
Exactly. It's thought crime. Like, because they're like, well, the thought of this could lead to actual crime at this, in the future. So we just want to make sure that. And this is what
Yeah.
the FBI is worried about, ladies and gentlemen. And quite frankly, every time that there's a let's just say a very unfortunate incident in a grocery store, the FBI is like, well, he was on our radar. Okay, so this dangerous person was legit on your radar, probably making threats on the internet, but you're worried about what I'm saying? You're
Yeah,
you're, you're
he was
worried
on
about,
their radar because they're the ones who weaponized him in the first place.
yeah, ding ding ding.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, Devil. We kind of been like, ranting here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sorry,
No,
dude. This really just fires me up.
it's no, you guys are dead on. It's uh, like I've said before, the government, it's never look at what they're trying to do on A, look at what A's leading to. The, whatever law they're passing, that's not their goal. That's just the beginning of it. This would be them trying to, like you said, become Gestapo, come to your work and show up and say, look, we saw you put this online. Uh and then grill you about it so that they want you to implicate yourself in some way that they could actually charge you with some sort of offense, right? They sit there and say, you were critical of the president. Do you have negative feelings towards the president? Do you have and see if they can catch you in something that they can then start thinking. And then that's where it's going to probably end up ultimately, is trying to limit the First Amendment, trying to say that you can't say those things because you're going to cause harm. There, if we stop it here, then later we won't have this happen. So that's why we need to take away your rights. Never give the government an inch. That's not their not intent is not to help you. Their intent is not to take away anonymity so that you know who's saying those mean things about you, and it's all about protecting the kids and all this and stuff. It's always about the next step from that. They're 4 steps ahead on what kind of oppression and violation of our rights is. So whatever you give them, they're going to take more. And that's exactly what she wants. She wants to take away anonymity so they can start punishing us for what we think and what we think wrong.
Yeah. And I'm with you on the the whole Republican thing. Like, I registered as a Republican this last time around. I'd never been like a Republican exactly. I've been registered as both parties. I've been registered independent. And the reason I registered as a Republican this time around was so that I could primary that bitch Cheney out of my state. But beyond that, I usually register as an independent because you can't trust either of these fucking parties. And you certainly can't trust any of the little, ankle biters who run around them, like the Libertarian Party or the Communist Party or, whatever. The ones who are always trying to get in, the Tea Party, the Green Party, all of these guys. Those are all just different forms of communism anyway, but whatever. And it's just, so I don't know. I think more and more, Devil, I find myself in the way that you described it, politically homeless.
Yeah.
As time goes on, because I still regard myself as right wing. I still regard myself as more or less conservative, although I'm less inclined to use that particular word, given that the vast majority of people who call themselves conservatives are lockstep with this Republican shit.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure quite where I fit in anymore, and I don't know what to do about that. But I'm certainly not going to clap like a seal when they decide they're going to start stripping away our right to privacy, and then our right to speak and think and protect ourselves and earn a living and own property and eventually just be free, because that's where this is going, man. Sooner or later they'll start rounding up people that disagree with them, putting them in camps and shit, and those people will dig big trenches, and then they'll all fill those trenches with their bodies.
Yep. Ever since we got all of our rights, ever since the establishment of this country, and we put our rights in the Constitution and solidified them, government has been trying to find ways to pull them away from us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fact,
Yeah. So, but we can't. And that's the sad thing, is that it gets to a point where, like I said, the plan to grant the FCC unprecedented fucking power, like they didn't have enough already, was approved by Congress, and the only way that gets shut down is if it goes before the Supreme Court, right?
Yep.
And the problem with that is that the Supreme Court has made a habit in the last 4 years of ducking important cases.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Of kicking them back down to where it doesn't matter. Like they're not taking stances, they're not making decisions, they're not ruling on things that we need them to be ruling on. That's what they're fucking there for. Their whole purpose is to act as a check and balance against the other two branches of the government, and right now they're just kind of letting them roll over them.
Well, and they're meant to be the ultimate balance, right? Is that their job is to say, "Oh no, 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 no. You can't do this. It violates the Constitution." That is the sole purpose of the Supreme Court, is to say, "Okay, the president did this. You can't do that because the Constitution doesn't let you. The Congress or whatever. It's one of those things. It's like you can't do this because it fundamentally violates the rights and citizens of this country, and quite frankly, we're not going to let you do it. It's just the way it is. The problem is that, and thank God the Colorado Supreme Court just recently was on the side of the actual people, because they were trying to get Donald Trump banned from being on the presidential ballot here in Colorado as an actual presidential candidate. And all of our weirdo fucking we're all for it until the Supreme Court here in Colorado said no, it's unconstitutional. You can't do that. And it's like the fact that that was even a thing, to ban a former president from being on the 2024 ballot in this state, is fucking insane. That is some commie shit, dude.
Look, man, you constitutionally speaking, you can't ban anybody who's a U.S. citizen from being on the ballot. That
Yeah.
includes felons, by the way, who are restricted
Yes.
of certain rights, like the right to vote, the right to bear arms, and all that stuff. It doesn't matter whether or not they've been rehabilitated; they lose those rights. But that, constitutionally speaking, we actually legally and constitutionally can't take those from them.
No,
We do it.
no,
It's
we
been
do
done. It's being done,
And-
but it's completely unconstitutional.
Yeah, it is. It
And
is.
I'm not saying we should go and arm all the felons or anything like that, because we know damn good and well that some of those guys put firearms to very dastardly use. But constitutionally speaking, that it is not within the government's right to restrict those freedoms. While they're in prison, while they're doing their time, kind of thing is one thing. But even then, there's trampling over civil rights and shit in there too.
There's also a reason too that when it comes to voting, if you don't like a candidate, there's always a place to, like, for a write-in. Obviously, probably had this gone through, many people would have used that in the 2024 election to write in Donald Trump's name. But just the fact that they're trying to say, well, because of insurrection, that he's to be barred from being a presidential candidate here in Colorado. Well, it's like, well, first off, many people in Colorado, probably in the Denver area, are not going to vote for him, right? Because Denver Metro, Boulder, Pueblo, these are all like giant cities in Colorado that control the rest of the state. I live on the other side of the state, where Lauren Boebert's our representative, and of course they hate her, right? They say that she's this horrible person. She's a politician. She's probably not the greatest, but the fact that she calls out bullshit, I'll give her credit for. And it's one of those things that you can't. You are fundamentally taking away the right of every Coloradan to vote for a person by their choice if you do it. And so you're fundamentally violating the rights of millions of people, and you're doing it in the name of social justice, right? Because my orange man bad. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what you think of. You can say that I'm a horrible person for voting for Trump or whatever. Like I said, everybody's free to think whatever they want about any of us on the internet, especially because we put ourselves out there, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that when you fundamentally trample somebody else's rights, I would never take away the right of somebody else to say vote for Joe Biden. Like, I think that's horse shit. I think that's garbage. I think he's an awful president, but I would never take that away because I believe in those rights of this country. But so many Americans nowadays,
you can write
just
in
don't.
Mickey Mouse if you want to, and they still are required to count that as one vote for Mickey Mouse.
Yes, absolutely, and it's the way it should be. Absolutely.
They don't. They disregard that stuff, but they aren't supposed to.
No, they're not. And that's
and
why.
As far as the insurrection shit goes, right? None of that has been substantially proven. No one has been, like Trump himself has not been convicted of anything. And even the only way that the 14th Amendment shit takes effect is if he is convicted, which he has not been. And even then, it has to be in a case of insurrection or secession. And the reason that even exists is because they didn't want the leaders of the Confederacy to run for government in the reconciled United States. They didn't want them being in charge. So they
Mhm.
wrote that in there saying if you tried to secede from the country, you don't get to hold office, right?
Yeah.
That's not what happened that day. And even
No, it's
if it
not.
was, it has not been proven to be what happened, and he hasn't been convicted of that shit. So none of that holds water. And secondly, if you want to bar people on account of secession or insurrection, maybe take a look at all the wannabe hippies over in Chaz who declared on national fucking television that they were seceding from the United States
Mhm.
in a 6-block radius.
And they basically imprisoned all the residents that lived there, basically held them hostage, saying, "No,
Mhm.
you're a part of us now. So you're either going to pay the toll, or you're to, it's literally, it was literally a case of kidnapping in a sense. Or I guess kidnapping is more for like children, but like it'd be like entrapment, right? So it's still a
Being
felony.
held
It's not as
against your
bad
will
as
is still
it,
kidnapping. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
still usually on a federal level, right? I think kidnapping is
Mhm.
for like minors, but like entrapment is meant for like, it's
Illegal
a lesser felony.
detaining. What would it be?
Yeah, illegally
Something.
detaining somebody against
Yeah.
their will
Yeah.
is usually how they try to distinguish it, for the case of missing children versus missing adult who's been taken against their will. Um Kidnapping is usually like it's like I think it's like a class 3 or class 2 felony, depending on what state or
Mhm.
what part of the government. And then, of course, like illegally detaining somebody against their will is like just a felony below, because an adult can fight more than a child can. Um, but still, you're basically taking somebody against their will, and you're saying it's like, well, that's the way it is, or tough shit. And so these losers that did it, they did it on national television to the applause from the media. By the way, thank you very much for being so fair and balanced there. Um, and nothing has happened, right? You're not gonna take over the U.S. government with about 500 idiots who decided to most off were led into the building and they took a little tour.
Mhm.
A few got kind of rowdy. Get it? That's let's not be rowdy here. But and
And one
when
was
the
killed by the police for trying to calm
eh,
shit down.
yeah, and one was killed by the police. One was actively shot through a door, like firearm put into the door and shot. Not shot on the other side of the door, right? Where things
Mhm.
would have been a lot more dangerous. Shot on the side of the door that they hadn't even broken through yet.
Capitol Police too, which puts them in a category all their own because technically DC is not part of the United States; it is separate from it, and that there's good reason for that. But that also
Yes.
means that their police don't necessarily have to behave in the same way that other municipal departments do.
No, no,
They
they
can
don't.
be deployed and used much in the same way that shock troops can.
Mm-hmm.
Which is worrying. And they were, you know, it, but this whole thing, like the Chaz thing, man, what happened with the Chaz thing, right? A bunch of hippies got together and they're like, oh, well, we don't want to be beholden to the government. So we're going to do our own thing and we're going to carve out this little 6-block radius and this will be our country. We'll call it the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone and we'll grow our own fruit and fruits and vegetables and grains and we'll all get along in this little bitty utopia. And you know what happened? Aside from the fact that they did all that shit to the residents of those blocks,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, the food thing didn't work out because, as it turns out, uh, just saying you're going to do something doesn't mean that you know how to do something.
Real
And
quick, oh, sorry, dude. If you're I'll let you finish your point, and then because
yeah,
Clifton is like,
and
DC is not USA. Like it is, but it's not. It's not like the
it
state.
it's USA, but it's outside of the states, and therefore it's outside
It's
of
Yeah,
the
it's the
union.
District of Columbia, so it doesn't have the
Yeah,
same rights as let's say the state of Florida or the state of
yeah.
Colorado. Its
Technically, it sits on
citizens.
land in Virginia and Maryland, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
it it is owned by the federal government. Everybody who lives in the District of Columbia does not have, in a sense, because they choose to live there, they don't have the right to vote for their representatives like we do here in the States for like our representatives to represent us. They have
Yeah,
the
there's
right
no
to vote for
DC
president.
representative in Congress.
Yeah, there's no, so they, and that's one reason that these weirdos want to change that, is because by doing so, Washington DC is very liberal and it will give the other side a one up.
Yeah, they're trying to get more electoral votes essentially from having DC. But
DC has a sizable population too, so they will.
Yeah, they want essentially that's why it was made the way it was because at that time period when they first came up with that, people were loyal to their states. You know, you were a Virginian, you were
Yep.
your state was your kind of thing, that you didn't really see the country as, as important as what state you were in, and that's who you were. And they didn't want to have one state have like a benefit of having the federal
too much
government
power
located
over
in
everybody else.
Yeah, you didn't want to say, oh, the capital's in Virginia, so Virginia has all the power. So they carved that out specifically so it could be separate from all the states and not have any state have sway over the whole. And
essentially the idea was decentralizing the main, the federal government. Which obviously that worked out great. But in terms of not having it as a part of a specific state and therefore not giving that specific state too much control over the rest of the country, that was a good idea, and it still is. I know that.
I was just going to say real quick, it's also one of the reasons too is that the states can do things that the federal government cannot, right? So on the federal level, marijuana is still very illegal, but at the state level, the states can choose to say, no, we have more power than you do as the federal government, because they do. The states were designed to have more power than the federal government, to basically tell the government, go fuck yourself, to keep the federal government of bay from becoming tyrannical and to control states' right. Exactly, Bush. States' rights are which is why you can say that's one of the reasons for the whole end in the life of an unborn child, right? Is that if a state chooses to do so, they have the right to legislate that, to make that into law. The federal government does not, because it's not a fundamental right based on the Bill of Rights. You have no right to any of that based under the U.S. Constitution. State legislatures can choose to give you that right.
Yeah, and furthermore, the regarding the Bill of Rights and all that stuff, the Bill of Rights does not grant government power; it limits it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And for good reason, as we're seeing now with this FCC shit. Real quick, I wanted to get back to what happened with Chaz. It wasn't long after they started failing with the proposed farming. As it turns out, you got to have the right kind of soil to raise the right kind of crops in somebody's yard. You got to know all kinds of shit. These guys couldn't sustain anything if they wanted to, because they didn't know the first thing about that. All they knew about was their fucking lattes and their little, pickets and that sort of thing. And it wasn't long before some of them started arming themselves and behaving like warlords. And a few people, I believe, were shot over that shit.
Yeah. Yep. There was a couple people who died in Chaz. And
they also died too because they wouldn't let the very people they were supposedly protesting, the police, right? They wouldn't let the police in to basically save this individual's lives. But ultimately, it was their armed individuals who were meant to keep these rules and regulations, or the new laws in place, were very much armed, and they ended up shooting somebody. So ultimately, humanity devolves to the exact same place. It doesn't matter where you are. Human beings are always going to have a sense of violence about us. We just are. It's our society that has decided, and most of the time it's an armed society is what makes people more polite, because it's like, well, if I decide that I'm going to beat the holy snot out of you and I get shot in the process doing it, I got what I got fucking coming, right? So that's kind of where one reason is that the saying an armed society is a polite society, and in many cases that's very true. Because you are accountable for what you do, and
Yeah.
so it's the same devolvement like it is that these people. Bush wants me to
Well,
answer. Hold on.
Before
He-
before we get to that, I do have one thing to add on to what you were saying, but we will get to that question very, very shortly because I can't. I'm dying to know the answer myself. You guys ever heard that expression that society is only ever 24 hours and one missed meal away from total barbarity?
Sounds familiar.
I think that's what we witnessed in Chaz.
Mm,
People started missing meals. People got desperate.
Oh, well, it's funny though because when those people were shot, they're all, well, we won't let cops in, but we'll let first responders in. The problem is that cops precede first responders. If there's an active shooter,
Yep.
you can't have anybody go in till the cops secure it. You can't have the ambulance come in. The ambulance will not enter that area till the cops have secured it because their safety is a thing. So they sat there. I remember they went on TV and they're all like, they let that person die. No, they weren't able to go in
Yep.
because you wouldn't let the cops in.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the reasons that the police are first on many scenes, including house fires, right? You see it all the time, stories of police officers pulling people out of a burning building because the firefighter's not there yet. Well, it's the job of the police being out and about in the community actively at all times to secure a scene first, render
Yeah.
any aid until a more advanced team that can render aid, i.e. firefighters, paramedics. Talk about paramedics, not EMTs. EMTs are great too. It's just a different classification if you know about first responders. The thing is that police must secure the scene and detain any possible violent people or render aid until further help is available, and neither was allowed to be done because the police were not allowed to go in
Yeah, that's
into these
another one of
places
those.
where somebody was actively shot.
Yeah, it's another one of those things that we get from TV that is a total twist on reality. Uh, where you'll see the ambulance come running into like an active fire zone to save somebody's life, and it's like, no, in real life they are not even allowed to think about entering there till the cops go in and say it
Mhm.
is safe, you are secure, come in. Just like the racist cops, the idea of racist cops, that we see it so much on TV shows that when Black Lives Matter started spewing their bullshit, it was easy for people to believe because
Mhm.
our reality is set by what we see in our pop culture and stuff. That's why we have to fight for pop culture so much, because it's important, because we believe what we see shown to us on TV. And so people believe that, like I said, that ambulances can just run into an active fire zone to save lives. They can't, they're not allowed. They would lose their job completely. They're not allowed to do it till the cops say it is safe and you can come in.
Indeed, indeed. Now, Ryan. Bush has a
So
question for
okay,
you.
so Boosh says, Ryan, come on, man. It's a simple question. If you were a hot dog and you were starving, would you eat yourself? Uh hold on, Boosh, I'm answering right now. The thing is that I'm gonna phrase it the exact same way as if I were a human being. The answer is going to be initially no, unless I were stuck in the mountains. Somehow, some way I lost a limb. I was managed to, you get your arm cut off somehow, some way, whatever, right? You gotta do a tourniquet, stuff like that, and you're able to survive. If you're that hungry and you're on the verge of starving to death, you'll eat bugs that you would have eaten, like a week ago or whatever. You can actively survive, like, while starving for weeks on end, before you ultimately die. You'll die of dehydration first. So the answer is initially no. If it were that dire, probably. So, and
Yeah.
that goes for, it's one reason that happened with the Donner Party, right? People died, and they're like, that's food. We're
I
hungry
think
enough
you're
that's
thinking too
food.
hard about this.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's trying to make a gay joke, but I'm going to answer it the way I'm going to answer it. So you don't sway my answer.
I'll help Ryan out. He'd eat the dick area first.
Yes, that's exactly what I would do. I would eat. I was yeah.
Oh,
That's
shizzy,
probably
my glizzy.
that's probably what you guys were looking for more.
Real quick, Zero on the Gamer. What do y'all think of people who started their own micronation? As far as I'm concerned, as long as you're not, carving it out of my nation, go for it.
I mean, ultimately, kind of in a sense, right? Owning your own property, and let's say you live out in the middle of Montana somewhere, and you own 40 acres. It is kind of your own micronation because you're allowed to defend yourself. You're allowed to defend yourself against anybody who may come in and harm you or harm your property or your livestock or anything like that. You ultimately, in a
Sure.
sense, are kind of a
However,
micro. That's what kind of the individual rights are. Like, the government can't just waltz onto your property and be like, "Oh, we don't like what you said, so we're taking you to jail." It doesn't work that way. So, in kind of a
right.
way, an individual's rights given the
Sure.
state.
However, that doesn't. I mean, you're still beholden to if even on your own property, you're still beholden to the laws of the land,
You
right?
are beholden to the
So,
laws of the land, yes. So that's
so
why I said it's
yeah.
kind
So
of like it's not technically, but no, I think probably the most significant that we all know is at Chaz Chop, whatever the fuck it was. They tried to literally carve out their own swath of what was it? Not Seattle, what was it? Portland.
yeah, no, it was Seattle.
Was it Seattle? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. And if it had been successful, which obviously it wasn't going to be because these fucksticks don't know anything beyond Starbucks. But had it been successful, I don't doubt for a second that their plan was probably to expand their territory because that's generally how these things go. Particularly if down the road, they need more room. They're starting to experience population growth. They got an influx of immigrants. They got people having babies and shit. The only way that works is if they start taking over other people.
Don't you love that if they would be like, fuck the colonizers, let's go colonize.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah, well,
essentially what they did. They colonized somebody else's neighborhood.
yeah. They and most of those losers, like probably 99% of those losers didn't live there. That just happened to be that where they were protesting, and they took over other people's neighborhoods while these people were cowering in their homes because they're like, "Oh my God, are these violent rioters?" Which they essentially were. They weren't protesters. I know the media calls them protesters, but no, they're
Mhm.
just violent rioters. That's all they are. We're cowering
Yeah.
in their home, and then they're like, "Well, we set this up because it's our neighborhood now," and it's like, okay, dude, whatever.
Yeah. Shadow, nobody said it was autonomous except the people who lived there called it autonomous. You're quibbling, I think, a little bit over there. What we're saying is that it was a failed secession. And ultimately it was the dumbest possible thing they could have done. And yet still, those people, I guarantee, each and every one of them has retained all of their rights, including the right to be on the ballot if they so choose, which technically, according to the 14th Amendment, they participated in an actual insurrection and an actual secessionist movement,
Mm-hmm.
bars them from ever running for that office.
Yep. And
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 that's
I have
that's why that was created, by the way. It wasn't for, a guy saying, "Hey, fight like hell, but let's be all nice and shit." And then other people doing a thing, whether or not that thing was what they say that thing was, other people doing a thing and him getting fucking blamed for it.
yep. It's essentially it's horse shit is what it is. It's it works with the narrative of what these media hacks, what these mouth breathing losers on Twitter want when like you'll say one thing, right? So like I had this interaction recently. One of the talking heads, I'm still not sure this isn't a troll account, but she's like something about the fact that like liberals always look better during the holidays, and I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, because liberals don't believe in family or Christianity. And then of course somebody said, you MAGA people. And I'm like, well, who said anything about Trump? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's one of those things that You know, it's like he's trying to basically call me a MAGA, you're a fake Christian, you worship, you know, and it's like you're the one that's broken because you've let these people live inside your head rent free, not just the former president or certain representatives from other states, but the media who put that there. Your own politicians that you believe in, they're the ones that brainwashed you. Like they're not your friend, right? They brainwashed you into
Mhm.
thinking to being their useful idiot and just vomiting this nonsense on everybody. And it ultimately because the media is on their side and certain politicians are on their side, like in you know they get these passes, like they can do heinous things, violate all sorts of, you know, Kyle Rittenhouse to this day is literally still called a murderer. Well,
Mhm.
he was
Yeah, I saw
proven
some
innocent,
fresh
right?
tweets the other day calling him a murderer and saying that the people that he killed were heroes and martyrs.
Yeah, even though the ones that he killed were actual they were felons, actual felons.
They
One
were
of them.
felons, although I think that that should be, like
Now, I'm
I
not saying
don't
they deserve to
necessarily
die
agree that
because
should be relevant to. No, yeah,
it
that's
was
irrelevant to what happened.
yeah,
They
it was
died because they attacked him and he defended
yes.
himself.
They were violent felons who were continuing to be violent towards somebody who chose to defend themselves. Now,
Right.
whether you like the fact or not that he was walking down the road with a rifle in his hand, I could walk down the road with a hunting rifle in my hand, and quite frankly, it doesn't mean I'm going to go out there and pop everybody I see. It's just not the way it is.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
because
look,
Muscari gun, you know,
I don't like the fact that a 17-year-old kid was put into a position by grown ass men where he had to kill somebody, and now he's got to
agreed,
carry
thousand
that
percent
shit.
agreed.
I don't like that. I don't like it when gangbangers and fucking Compton they get these like 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old kids to run drugs for them, and then they end up in a situation where they have to take a life
Hmm.
and have to carry that shit. I don't like that shit. However, in the situation that he was in, which I agree, he maybe could have avoided being in altogether. I don't believe that he did any wrong, aside from maybe being there in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. He should not have been there. Did he want to support his local community, right? Because he live. A lot of people are like, well, he
Well,
crossed state lines,
sure, he
right? He
went in with the
crossed,
best of intentions, but look what like
but
best intentions don't
he
protect
did
you.
have a parent with residency there, right? So that's where
Mhm.
that's partly his neighborhood. He wanted to protect his neighborhood. Now, should someone have given him the rifle? No, because he was given the rifle. He didn't transport it over state lines. I don't think that kid should have been anywhere near there. But the ultimately what it comes down to is that bad people were doing bad things. The kid was already in a
Yeah.
bad situation and he had to defend himself, making it worse. And
Right, and
so
that's one of the things that they constantly gets brought up when the right is defending Rittenhouse. They will talk about like, oh well, these guys did all this horrible shit. I was like, that is irrelevant. First of all, it's irrelevant to what happened, and secondly, he didn't know that at the time.
mhm.
It has nothing. It has no bearing on his actions in that moment.
The the fact is when the government fails to do their job, what we do actually have them there for, that stuff happens.
Ding ding
Kyle
ding.
Rittenhouse was there, and the people who were there with their guns were there to protect property because the government
Yes.
wasn't doing their job in protecting those businesses, wasn't
Yes.
Yeah,
stopping the bad from happening. If you want to
yeah.
find somebody who's
Go
Go ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
Oh, if you want to find somebody who's responsible for any of that negative stuff, look at the mayor and the governor and stuff who said, "Go ahead and burn places down because you're throwing a fucking tantrum, you pieces of shit."
I
That's the
Yeah.
agree.
people
Well,
who were responsible.
yeah, and look at what he was doing while he was there before the shit hit the fan and he had to start popping off, right? What was he doing? He was trying to put out a fire. He was trying to render first aid. He was trying to help people get the fucking cover,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
right?
a lot of this stuff is obviously is purposely negated. Um, you know, and there's a certain spin on the whole mostly peaceful. Well, it's there's no mostly about it. It's not like, hey, this cheesecake is mostly made of, cream cheese, but there's a little bit of something else in there. No, it's either you're peaceful or you're not. A protester is always peaceful by law. You have the right to peacefully assemble. You have no other right to peacefully assemble other than to peacefully assemble. So that's the deal. If you're not peacefully assembling, if you're not peacefully protesting, you are not protesting. You are a rioter. You are breaking the law. That includes blocking traffic because you are breaking a state statute. It is not
I don't know that I
peaceful
agree
assembly.
with that.
I don't care if you agree with it. It's true.
No, I'm telling you that I don't know that I agree that that you don't have the right to assemble in any way other than peaceably. You have the right to free association, Ryan. That doesn't matter what's going on.
Yes, but but the thing is, though, is if you're not peacefully assembling, then you're taking away the rights of other people, and then that
I didn't
makes
say it was right, man. I don't think that they should be rioting and all that stuff. But I'm not saying, what I am saying is
it's
that
literally written down. You have the right to peacefully assemble. It says peacefully.
yeah, you have the right to peacefully assemble. You also have the right to free association.
I mean, you can choose, I guess, to act in any other
Let
way.
me
It's
put it this way.
your.
When I was in
It's
Colorado, right, they enacted a law that stated that any group of more than 3 people at night was to be considered and treated as gang activity, regardless of what they were doing.
well, that's stupid.
Yeah, which is a violation of your rights.
I agree with that.
And so I'm what I'm saying is like, yes, they were breaking laws, right? The riots are breaking laws. They're burning down shit. They're assaulting people. At the very least, they're disturbing the peace and the noise ordinances, right?
Well,
So
and
yeah,
again,
they're breaking laws, but I'm just saying that I don't agree, because if you limit the right to assemble to peaceably, and that's just in the One Amendment, and I agree that it does say peaceably assemble. You have the right to peaceably assemble. That is true, and that does include protesting. It also includes fucking holding classes in the park.
true, very true.
If we limit it to that, then that completely negates the point of the second. If we cannot form militias to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government, which is not a peaceable thing,
No, and
then we
that's
can
also
just throw 2A right out the fucking window.
well, it's also one reason that the Second Amendment reinforces the First Amendment, right? So is because when the First Amendment fails, the Second Amendment is there to reinforce against the tyrannical government. So no, I get where you're
I would
coming from.
argue, yeah, I would argue that the Second Amendment is there to prevent the failure of the First.
I would probably say I think it probably could swing both directions, but I definitely agree with what you said. Like it is there to prevent it from failing. Yes. No,
And by the
there's
way,
probably
YouTube, I'm not advocating, violence or, any of that
no,
shit.
and YouTube,
Just
none of
saying,
us are
we're just
because
talking.
yeah, because quite frankly, we are actually law abiding citizens. Like we actually give a shit about this country, and the fact that like the statements need to be rendered like that is just absolutely nonsensical in every way, shape, or form.
Well,
The
there's a
government
difference.
can't
Prevent me from saying it, but YouTube can.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is because under Section 230, the YouTube is a platform. It is not a publisher, and it has zero right to censor what you say. If I want to say that's sticking my foot down Samuel's throat will cure cancer, I have the right to say that. Now, does that mean it's true? No, because it's stupid. That's just stupid.
Shadow, yes, you do. You do have the right to peacefully protest at Martha's Vineyard. You have the right to peacefully protest anywhere within the lawful borders of the United States. Yes,
Yep.
you absolutely do, as a U.S. citizen. I don't know that I would, because the rich people will probably disappear your body real quick. But
Have they
but you
found?
can.
Speaking of Martha's Vineyard, real quick, have they found Obama's chef yet?
For example,
Because I don't think they have.
yeah, and also Zillage. I think Zillage might be watching. Like he might be a little bit further back in my stream a little bit.
Possibly.
Because
You
I
may
think
need to
talking about Nikki
refresh, dude.
Haley.
Yeah, you may need to refresh, dude. So no, because look, obviously, one of the reasons that we're all friends, it's not just that we like to get together and joke around, have a good time, right? It's because a lot of us we don't agree on everything. I think Samuel and I will be the first ones to, that I consider Samuel a very good friend anymore. I hang out with the guy on a weekly fucking basis multiple times, whether it's in person or not is irrelevant. But him and I fundamentally disagree about religion, right? The fundamental
Mhm.
because we have different beliefs, which is fine, and but we both respect each other enough to have that disagreement and not like literally rake each other over the coals. And this is how this country used to be until Orange Man bad, which is where it got really bad. Now it started obviously with the whole not George Floyd, Michael Brown thing. A police officer that ultimately had to quit, that was ultimately acquitted by Barack Obama's Justice Department. He'll never be a police officer again, no matter how good he was at it. And it's one of those things that now you can't have when you have a peaceful disagreement on Twitter, it's almost like people are shocked. Like they actually thank each other. I've had people thank me for being
Mm.
civilly disagreeing with them, and I'm like, well, why am I going to yell at you? It makes no sense, right? And I think
Mhm.
that's one thing that we, this mostly peaceful kind of crap. It's like, well, they burned your storefront down, but they did it for the right reasons. There, guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, they burned down my livelihood. I think they're vile, heinous people, and quite frankly, they're lucky that I didn't have a pew pew underneath the register. And then
Well,
there's
even then, man,
incidents of
like
pew
you
pews
look
under
at
registers, and the guy in the store got convicted.
what happened to David Dunn.
Yes, yes.
Not Dunn, Dorn. Sorry,
Yes, David Dorn.
was
David
it
Dorn,
David Dorn?
retired
Yeah,
police officer, black man.
went out to help prevent bad shit from happening to neighborhoods or to his neighborhood, helping to protect local businesses, people that he knew who ran those businesses. And what happened? They shot him dead.
Yep,
For just trying to keep people from breaking some windows.
yep.
So it's
It's
just it
it's
is what
it's
it is.
it's absolutely nonsensical, and it's one of those things that it just it's just when you start going after people's you know when you start going after like anonymity and stuff like that, people have the right to not know who you are. And you could even make the grounds too that the government goes above and beyond and says
Mhm.
that takes some of that stuff away, right? Because I'm not talking about like a driver's license, because driving is a privilege given to you by the state. It is what it is. There's stipulations to having a driver's license. You have to submit to certain qualifications, right? But your right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, the basic fundamental Bill of Rights is the right of every American in this country.
Bingo, 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 bingo. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there when you say the right to the pursuit of happiness. That is half the problem with the people who are out there, quote unquote, peacefully protesting, is that they think they have the right to happiness. No one has that right. You have the right to pursue it. No one
Hmm.
guaranteed you the right to be actually happy.
No, no, no. It's one of
No.
those things. You're not, and that's where the difference between equality and equity. That's where equity falls apart. Equality is opportunity, equal opportunity for the same ventures. Now, you may not have the equal opportunity coming from the same start point, right? That's just not true.
Mhm.
A kid come from Beverly Hills his parents have $20 million in the bank or assets, whatever, is not going to have the same. I'm not going to have the same venture capital startup that say that he has, but I have the equal opportunity to try to do what he wants to do, but I might be better at it because I grew up poorer, because I want it more. Just because you grew up a certain way doesn't make you better at everything. Just because you grew up in a soccer family doesn't mean that you're gonna be the next David Beckham. Now you might be an
Right.
incredible tennis player, and the rest of your family is like tennis. Like, don't you want to play a real sport? And it's like, no, I'm good at tennis. I like tennis. You know, it's Equity is the equality of the outcome, which means that if person A works 56 hours a week to make B happen, and person C works 22 hours a week, but they get the same result as person A, that's horseshit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like if they happen to, if you're talking about two different people with two different jobs and one of them pays higher but requires you to work less, that's not the same thing. What we're talking about
Mhm.
is that person A works twice as hard as person B, but the fruits of person A's labor are taken partially from him to make up for the shortcomings of person B,
Yep.
which is where it gets to horseshit. And that's, I hate to break this down for you folks like this, but there is no such thing as equality. It doesn't exist. And equity is a fucking pipe dream.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like we can do everything we can to treat people the same as we treat everybody else, to make sure that the same opportunities are available to everybody, right? And that's as close as we're ever going to get to equality, because people are not equal. Some are tall, some are short, some are fat, some are thin, some are fast, some are slow, some are, people are not equal.
I mean, and I
Some are
think,
superior to others in one way or another. That is just a fact.
yep. I think that Samuel and I can both attest to us is giant human beings. Samuel 6'5", I'm 6'4". We are twin towers, like standing next to somebody who probably would be in the neighborhood of, I would say, Gal, right? Green hair and
I found out
anti-liberal.
today. Yeah.
I think she's
I
like
found out today that Static is
5'3".
2 inches taller than me.
Damn, Static's a tall dude.
Yeah.
So he's 6'7".
Yeah.
Like, and if the three of us were to like, and this is no joke too, right? And this is also where situational comparisons, like, not every situation is the same. And it's like, so if Samuel and I get into a fight, guess what? We might punch each other around a little bit and ultimately everybody walks away. But if somebody like me goes after somebody gal size, right? And I'm literally 11 inches tall, I'm sorry, 14 inches taller than she is. And on top of that, I weigh an additional 120 pounds. She has the right to pull out a pew pew and just go to town if I'm trying to attack her, because that is a life threatening situation.
Yeah. And keep that in mind at all times, folks. If you attack somebody, whatever the reason, if you attack somebody in that moment, you are forfeiting your right to live.
Yes, you are.
And I'm not saying, like, even if you're doing it for the absolute right reasons, right? The person that you're attacking, whatever their motives are, whatever your motives are, don't matter. In that moment, one is attacked, one is attacker. The attacked always has the right to defend their life. And if that means taking yours, so be it, and vice versa.
And Shadu, I mean, that's real. It's a really funny sentiment, by the way. Yeah, Gal is a Marine, so she's going to be tougher than most, but you can't fight physical biology of 120 pounds and 14 more inches. You just can't. Like, she might be able to get a couple shots in on me, but eventually I'm going to wrap her up and she would be done. She'd just be done.
I mean, she's about what half your height, right? So she could probably eat your ass standing up.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's I didn't think that's where you were going with that, but all right.
Yeah, people underestimate the biological differences between men and women. It's enormous. Crowder said it before. The difference between a regular average female's strength and a regular average male strength is a bigger gap than a man who's not on steroids and one that is on steroids.
Yep.
There is an enormous thing that it doesn't matter how much training you have. Most fighters will acknowledge this. You have Ronda Rousey said, they were sitting there talking to her about, oh, you're the best fighter. And she's all, no, actually, I'm not. She's all, if a guy could kick the living shit out of me with minor amount of training because he just physically would overpower me instantly. It's a delusion to think anything else.
It is.
Shout out Chill on the Papa Crowder shit.
Yeah.
Like, calm down, buddy. Just
know
because the name was said doesn't mean you gotta like sing his hosannas or whatever.
fucking Shadoo's getting a manosphere boner right now.
Yeah, well, he also says that Marines are greater than everybody else. That's your opinion, man. I think Spetsnaz would disagree.
Probably.
Yeah, or
Probably.
Mossad. Yeah.
Look, we have
Or the
we have
fucking
some,
Navy SEALs, by the way.
yeah. Like there's a
So-
reason that there's a class above Marine. It's called Marine Force Recon, and that's kind of like the
Mhm.
Navy SEALs of the Marines. So Marines are incredible. All armed forces members are incredible, by the way. But it's one of those things that
Even the
any
bartenders.
even the bartenders. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Well, I've been watching Vets Talking, man, and somebody brought up, I think it was Common Nerd brought up how there's even a specialist in, or no, maybe it was Adam talking about there's a specialist class in the Air Force where basically you're a bartender.
I believe that. Yeah.
Like you work in the officers' lounge, and that's all you do
Yeah.
for like 4 years is mix drinks for officers.
Yeah. That's because it's the Air Force. The Army usually lumps that to civilians because let the civilians pour the drinks, right?
Yeah, look, the Air Force is very, very good at what they do, but they get a little
Sitting in chairs.
Yeah, some of those chairs have like fighter jets attached to them. That's all I'm saying.
Which they do. They really do. Which is obviously why I'm
Yeah.
making jokes. But
Right.
no,
But,
there's
but they have some real weird little classifications for jobs that you would think wouldn't be that they wouldn't call them specialists, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And then there's Ryan, who was the Barney Fife of the MPs.
all right. You know what?
Oh, Shadow's running away because we said that was his opinion about the Marines. Oh.
No, I figured it was this. I figured it was the Stephen Crowder thing.
No, he's probably actually got some shit to do. It's in the middle.
No, I know he does. We just give the kid a lot of
I
crap.
just like to give him some shit. But I will, because it's been a long time, play a little something for Shadow on his way out.
Oh no!
We're thinking of you, buddy.
$20 is $20, but I'm gonna need the money up front, big boy.
What the hell was that?
I hadn't seen that one. That was
Devil, what the hell is that?
one of Kohai's little things. She put we're early on in the life of this stream when Shadow first started showing up and all that stuff. We started making fun of him a little bit. He came on, and of course his face got screenshotted a bunch of times, and so that's his face on the female gremlin from Gremlins 2.
Uh-huh.
And we put him out on the street corner, and he's saying $20 is $20.
I think it's even better because Devil's a part of the Legion of Memers, and he's just like, what the fuck is that?
Every once in a while, I come across lore I don't understand, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, there's some shit that I don't drag out very often anymore because it's from earlier on, but that one I haven't shown for a long time. It's pretty good. The voice is actually Kohai Maska's voice, but she put it through a couple of filters to make it sound like Shadow was like a 20-year-old or like a 10-year-old boy. On that, yeah. So I hope that explains that for both Shadow and
Aesthetic.
Good old Shadoo.
Yeah. So I mean, I've got much worse for him, and hopefully he's gone because I'm gonna show the worst thing. And this is a little bit more recent, and I don't remember if you've seen this yet or not, but I'm gonna show it anyway.
I'm just too freaking tired to fight it, and might as well just go along.
I've seen that one, but yikes.
Don't play back, Shadow. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Don't do it. And obviously that comes from the meme of that is Shadow's face on what started on Brie Larson's body when she was doing her yoga streams. And then of course it got animated and put a cactus in that's just,
Yeah, the cactus comes from an offhand comment where I think I told him to get fucked sideways with the cactus. And anyway, but that said, we're moving on. I did have something here that I wanted to share with the class. Saw this not too long ago on the old twats. Let me bring it up. And I think it's relevant to everything. I mean, especially considering all the commie shit that we're seeing these days. This is from an older thing. I actually don't recall what it is. I will look it up here just a second after we listen to it. But yeah.
A constitutional republic, not a democracy. The ideal of a democracy is universal equality. The ideal of a constitutional republic is individual liberty. A democracy always degenerates into dictatorship, which promises government-guaranteed equality and security, but it delivers nothing but poverty and serfdom for the people it robs and rules. America was founded as a constitutional republic to safeguard the liberties of the people against the tyranny of democracy or of one-man dictatorship. In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, the totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of our principles of government. A constitutional republic, not a democracy.
So yeah, I think he probably said that better than most.
And I say this to this day, right? Because we hear it all the time from the talking losers. Our democracy is in danger. Democracy dies in darkness. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. I'm sick and tired of our fucking politicians who should know better, but they say this thing for a reason. Because now idiots on Twitter like, I'm a democracy. No, we're not a democracy. That means mob rule, right? So the fact, and you hear this every presidential election, right? Where, well, Hillary Clinton had 3 more million votes than Donald Trump. Well, she lost because we're a constitutional republic to where everybody's vote counts. That's why the Electoral College exists, because otherwise you'd have states like New York and California steamrolling the rest of the country because they have more people, more mouth-breathing losers that gobble up this commie bullshit.
Yep. And it was a man named Dan Smoot, by the way, who was a conservative activist and a member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well, back in the day. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, he's operating, I think, he published a report called the Dan Smoot Report between 1957 and 1971. Passed away in 2003. He was born in 1913, so he saw some shit.
And I have to be honest, this is one of the things that literally irks me just nonsensically, is because, and it's the same reason, because it starts to subvert this whole thing of the foundation of this country. That's why I don't like it, is because it's meant to subvert what our country is supposed to be, the equality for every American, not just the people that you support, of like, well, they believe what I believe, so yeah, let's it doesn't work that way. Like, and so that's why our country is set up the way it is, with the checks and balances of the 3 branches of government, which many fucking people in this country can't even name. Like, that's insane. Like, they, and this is part of the reason that the American education system has become a blight on this country, because it is being actively subverted by people who are activists to not teach the real history of this country, to call it a racist country because we stole it from indigenous people. Well, congratulations, the whole entire world was stolen from people who were there first. It's just the way it is. I don't know what to tell you. And one day, you know what? It might be our turn all over again. We'll be long dead, but it might be our turn again. And then the new people who took over, guess what? It's their turn. It's just the way it is. I don't know what to tell you. The British Empire was literally one of the largest and most far-reaching empires in history until a bunch of fucking colonists with pitchforks decided to kick them dirty sumbitches out our country. Now they're our friends.
Yeah.
We love them to death. And I love being a fucking treasonous colonist. I love it every day of my life. My favorite thing
Yeah,
is
we
to
don't have
post
any
that.
Brits in chat right now, do we?
We don't. We don't have any on panel either. I'm so bummed.
I think I saw Kenzo this morning, but he was being weird and like, very polite and not, calling me names for making fun of his fixation.
Yeah, Mr. It's not a cult.
Yeah, no, dude, he jumps into a live stream like fucking last week. First comment is just Kenzo UK. It's not a cult. It's like, no, fucker, it is.
It is a cult. You're a Swiftie. And quite frankly, she's not even that good looking. I don't get it.
No, she looks.
There
like
are
a
girls
rodent.
on Twitch that I would rather simp for than Taylor Swift. And I'm very against
There are
simping, by the
actual
way.
rodents I would simp for before Taylor Swift. Minnie Mouse, for example.
Yeah. Jessica Rabbit.
Or just a rabbit. I don't know.
Or just I know, right?
As long as it's not Taylor Swift, whatever.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. Speaking of rampant degeneracy, yes, Kenzo, I'm talking about you. And I think, Devil, you may have heard about this through Dermy already. Self-described gay furry hackers breach one of the biggest nuclear labs in the U.S. and demand it begin researching, and I quote, IRL cat girls.
Jesus.
Nuclear labs. Okay. I don't know what to say about this one.
We talked about that. It was
no.
Yeah, we had a big argument because they were so sure that we were maybe 10 years were they trying to say away from cat human hybrids, and I had this big argument that that's just plain out retarded. But yeah, I don't get it. If you're gonna hold something up like that, why don't ask for something that's actually maybe achievable? Some minute chance of it actually happening. But yeah, if you really think that you're gonna hold something hostage and say, yes, give me the impossible, it's just not gonna happen.
I understand the girls that literally lick their microphones over this cat girl stuff more. I don't understand. I literally don't understand. I don't get the furry thing.
I don't get the furry thing at all.
Like, and this is coming from Samuel, who one of the things he hates probably most on this planet is he thought ASMR, and I understand that more than I understand this cat girl thing. Like, I don't understand the furry cons. Like, you all dress up like furry animals, and then you do stuff afterwards, which is really weird in the costumes.
I'm surprised more of them don't die of heat exhaustion.
Yeah,
honestly, I mean, they're wearing all that fur and costuming and shit, and they're still, expecting to have relations. If I'm being polite about it,
and they have to be bombed off their mind, right? Because a lot of people, most people go to
they're not overheating, they're not sweating and losing too much water, they're not getting like seriously fucking sick.
And I think FurryCon is like somewhere really like in Las Vegas too, like somewhere insanely hot.
Mm-hmm.
Or like LA. It's in some like really big city. I don't know, because like I said, I don't get it, but I've heard people talk and I think it's in like LA or like Las Vegas or something. So you're already like I don't get it.
Yeah. So let's read a little bit here. It says the Idaho National Library, one of the biggest nuclear labs in the U.S. with thousands of employees, has been hacked by the group Sieged Security, stylized SiegeSec. The hackers are self-proclaimed gay furry hackers who have posted a sample of the data obtained online and are threatening to release huge amounts of employee data unless the lab makes a peculiar deal. Which, by the way, that's terrorism.
That is terrorism. It absolutely is.
That's terrorism. But we're willing to make a deal with INL, says SiegeSec alongside the post. If they research creating IRL catgirls, we will take down this post. That is a reference to a long-running meme about furries wanting to create a race of sexy human mutant cats. And yes, none of those words are in the Bible.
I
You know
mean,
what? I'm about as anti-church as it gets. Get your asses to Sunday school.
yeah, y'all need some fucking Jesus.
It's like, holy fuck.
And two, if you really want to break down how gross this is, putting that aside, so if they do make one, how long does it take to grow up? Because I doubt it's going to be 7 years for every 1 year. They're pals. Because human beings grow up 1 year per 1 year.
Even with science fiction, type tropes like accelerated growth, for example, right? Which, first of all, is a good way to fucking have a weak ass body that'll break as soon as the wind blows. But even if they could do that, that doesn't mean that they mentally mature at that rate either. Or as well, rather. So you're going to end up with this, sexy cat woman, right? Assuming that they can get the accelerated growth thing to work, which I doubt. But it will have the mind of a fucking 1-year-old, right? Which makes this super fucked up. I mean, more so than creating a mutant race of basically sex toys.
Yeah, which in a sense too, where here come the activists, because it's going to be a living creature, so it's going to have rights to not be your personal slave every day of the week, right? Because that's kind of how it works. I mean, we've seen video games about the fact of like, oh, well, AI robots or whatever. Like, are they sentient? Do they have rights? Do they not have rights? Like, I mean, you're talking about something that was biologically created, had no intent to ever be here. It fundamentally is going to have rights to not be your personal slave for whatever weird shit you want to do to it.
Well, that's exactly well, not exactly, but that's one of the things I brought up last night. I said, even if you got the technology and you got to that level, I said, you also have the ethical implications, all this stuff that has to usually get sorted out before these things become like mainstream, just like with the cloning, they had cloning and there was all this controversy about if cloning, what were we going to do? Were we going to start cloning humans? Were people going to, even if their kid died, were they just going to be able to clone them and stuff? And what ended up happening was you had cloning essentially disappear. It was, everyone was talking about it. And then all of a sudden now, do you hear anything about cloning? They're still researching stuff about it. But no one's talking about it because ethically it became such a big thing.
Yeah, cloning was made illegal shortly after Dolly the sheep. Human cloning in particular was made illegal by, I think, all NATO countries, which includes the U.S.
Yeah. And
that's not saying that people aren't doing it, but it is technically illegal.
It was shortly after Dolly too, because Dolly was basically cloned back in like what, 98, 99?
Not basically, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so
it was 1998 when they actually did it, and I think they announced it in 99.
Yeah, and so the thing is that there's all sorts of red tape. Like you can't take. I mean, there's even actual ethical ramifications of why or why not we should be able to clone organs for people who need a new heart or new lungs or stuff like that. And that's why there's a lot of research going on whether or not we can actually grow it on the back of a rat, right? Which has been done.
You can. They
you can.
They're doing that. Yeah,
they are doing that. But
somewhere out there, there's a pack of rats running around a lab with like extra penises growing out of them.
You can't do what we saw with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson in The Island, right? That these people who clone themselves to ultimate, because they're dying, to ultimately farm their own organs from their own clone. Like and half the time too, it is believed that even if you do clone somebody, given the circumstances that they grow up in, they're not going to be the same person. You just because you have the same DNA doesn't make you the same person. So yeah, it's one of those things that no, you're not gonna get your lady cats or whatever the fuck it's called. It's just not gonna happen.
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
It's simply
But even
not
if it
possible.
were, there's ethical dilemma,
come on, Ryan.
ethical medical dilemmas.
Yeah, but if it were, some asshole would still do it. You know,
Some asshole would
we-
still do it, but the thing is, it's not going to be a mainstream thing, right? Because normal everyday citizens are going to push back against this and say, no, this isn't right. There is a moral line, and you have crossed it.
right,
And
no,
you'd probably
they'll
go to
be-
jail for the rest of your life.
If such a thing were to happen, no, they'd be selling them on an island, much like a very famous.
I mean, I don't disagree with that, and I really don't. Obviously, medical organ harvesting is a huge thing on the black market, right? Like you hear about these things. Well, you can sell a kidney for $40,000 on the right. So, much time people don't actually sell their own kidneys. It's usually like evil criminals, cartel members, stuff like that. They harvest people, then they harvest their organs, and ultimately they make the cash. So it's because there's these moral dilemmas surrounding this where good, honest, hardworking people aren't going to be on board for this kind of stuff. It would be the seedy underbelly of like Samuel said, a certain island.
So, what you're saying, what I'm hearing, Ryan, is that if it were possible, you would still turn down a sexy Rexy hybrid.
Yeah, because despite what the meme says, I'm not really into that. I do like my own species and preferably the opposite sex. To each
You're
their
not
own.
attracted to cloacas?
To who?
Cloacas.
What the fuck is that?
You don't know what a cloaca is?
No, I really don't.
It's sort of like it's a multi-purpose hole that's found in reptiles and amphibians. They don't have organs like we have, the sex organs like we have organs. Like a frog has a cloaca, and it acts as both a waste organ and and how they reproduce.
No, that sounds terrible.
That's what
Yeah,
Ryan calls
it's
his happy place.
That is not what I
so
call
like
my
their
happy
asshole
place.
is also their vagina. It's the same organ.
Well, that's no fun.
And that's generally what reptiles have too.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. I don't know that much about reptiles, so the irony of that, I'm the dirty Rex fucker, right? Really? Like, come on.
I paid attention to biology in like junior high, man. That's how I know.
Okay,
about it.
I pay attention to biology, but I didn't pay that close attention to where I'm going to remember that to this day.
You never had to dissect a frog?
Yeah, I just dissected a frog. Dissected a
Then you
freaking
should know
pig
what a
fetus.
cloaca is.
Dude, do you know how long ago that was? Are we really doing this right now with your weird shit about the fact that
if we're really doing that right now, it was longer ago for me than it was for you.
well, that's fine, but you know weird shit about like why sperm whales or whatever that fucking see, I've already forgot that fact that you still know to this day that I clown you on, which now I can't really clown you because I forgot it.
Yeah, I remember weird shit. I don't know.
You do remember some weird shit.
Ryan Acres for the cool acres.
God damn it. I hate hanging out with you guys.
Oh, that was good, Devil.
I fucking hate hanging out with you too. It's like,
No, you
I have to
don't.
see you a-holes tomorrow too.
Yeah.
I so many shows with you
I'm
a-holes.
gonna see if I can put something together for that, Devil.
Fuck you, dude. God, you suck ass.
Oh yeah. Oh, starfish organs. Okay, starfish are even better. So starfish have basically the cloaca, but it's also their mouth.
Wow.
Everything enters and leaves through the same hole in a starfish. I think I shocked everyone into silence.
No, I got a text from family saying food's ready, and I'm like, I'll eat when I'm done. I just didn't want them, like coming in here and be like, did you get the message? Yes, I got the
I'd
message.
just say hi
This
in a
is-
sultry voice again. Hi, Ryan's family. Yeah.
You know, he doesn't realize that I can do this and tell him to fuck off. I'm trying to add him back. What? What's going on here? I was trying to right the ship. Hold on. There you go. Got to have the devil on the bottom. So it says this again. Yeah, this is probably going to be a thing forever. It's like it happens on Dermy's stream too. But Dermy gets mad. That's what's different. Dermy gets really mad. Speaking of ball,
life is wonderful and weird, though.
Speaking of ball busters, there, Devil. How was that last night? I haven't had a chance to watch the show. Was it a beautiful mess?
Yeah, as usual. Yeah, we talked. We did the conversation about the cat girls, and that ended up in a big argument because Soldier, he is prone to conspiracy things. And so we got into, like I said, a big argument about, I was all like, there, maybe at some point in some future, time, it might be some sick thing where we can turn people into cat people, but it's not now. He's all, are you the government, the army is always 10 years ahead of us in technology. I'm all like, well, then when I see fucking some Navy SEALs who are cat girls, you'll have an argument, but at this point, no, you don't. And so that went off. And what else do we cover?
I do kind of agree with that, right? Because obviously if you were to embed some certain characteristics of like a feline, like a human being, it would be able to see at night without night vision goggles, right? If you had like, so it's, Soldier, he's he
Yeah,
likes
but
his
they wouldn't want to
conspiracies.
swim.
No, that's true. I mean, you can't. I would say everything, but like their reflexes would probably be faster than regular human beings, right?
Well, I'm not saying it's the same thing as yesterday. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be something they'd be interested in. Army's always trying to find ways to make soldiers more efficient or more, capable. Is it
it's why,
actually happening, and is it actually a viable thing?
yeah.
And the thing is to actually splice DNA. If we were even close to that, you'd see them trying to sit there and actually turn boys into girls, before they started trying to implement a different species DNA into ours. We're just not at that level. We're not even close to that level. We're definitely not within 10 years of it. Like I said, and so that was the whole argument, was just like, I wasn't disagreeing that they would do it. I wasn't disagreeing that if they could, they wouldn't do it. I was just saying, don't count on something that's potentially 50, 60 years away of happening in your lifetime. Just expect that it's not coming,
Yeah, and look, because I know Solar Spirit follows a lot of stuff, the same shit that Alex Jones does, and Alex Jones has been talking about like human animal chimera hybrids forever. And the thing is there may be something like that out there, but the problem with that is because we know it wasn't successful. Like maybe they bred something, but it wasn't a happy, viable life form. It probably lived for an hour before it died in agony, if at all.
Obviously, you don't know about Bat Boy.
No, I know about Bat Boy. Bat Boy's a special case. God, I miss those headlines.
It's one of those things that, I mean, look, I get, obviously our scientists have tried wacky things. The Germans, especially, one of the reasons that the Germans were so good at making many of the modern medical advancements that we have is because they did them on a unsuspecting population of about 6 million people, without their consent, right? So it's one of those things too that, in my opinion, I do believe that the government does still do certain things to soldiers and veterans, like to experiment with certain jabs or pokes or different procedures, right, to see what may
Fingers.
work for the general population. It's why I've always said too that my friends and I've always joked about like, oh, well, we're immune to COVID because of all the crap the government's pumped into our blood over the years.
Well, that's
So
probably, there's something to that. I know a
yeah,
lot of veterans, some I work with directly IRL, and who've talked about, like, we got shot up with so much fucking shit that made us so sick, but we don't get sick anymore ever.
yeah.
You know,
Like
and
literally, I had people around me just recently. Like I had family members, multiple family members that were very sick, got some sort of a cold, whatever, flu. Coworkers get it. I was expecting to get sick, and I didn't get shit. And I was working like within right next to many of these, or living with these people, like right next to me. And I do believe that. Sorry, Samuel. I just wanted to piggyback off that.
no, that's fine. It's fine. But yeah, that's definitely been a concern with veterans. A lot of them, when a veteran gets sick, you should be worried.
Hmm.
Because they are vaccinated and immunized against practically everything.
Yeah, and
You know,
it's the stuff they would give you. They would call it your pre-deployment immunizations, right?
Mhm.
And you'd have to get these on a yearly basis to be deployment ready. And then as soon as you were going to be deployed, you had to get your deployment immunizations to wherever you were going on top of that. So, I mean, when
Not
when I
to
went through,
mention whatever other random crap they want to inject you with at any given
yeah,
time, because you don't
yeah,
have any rights as a member of the U.S. military. You are property.
your property, yeah, absolutely. So, like, if you willingly, let's say hypothetically, you willingly ride a dirt bike and try to jump it over a small ditch, and you end up hurting yourself, breaking your leg, you're out of action for a while. The US military, the US Army can actively choose to punish you because you damaged government property. That's not a joke.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I'm full on aware of how that works. And we know that they have a long history of performing like the wild medical experiments on servicemen, you know, um, without telling the servicemen what they were doing, because they don't have to.
Hmm.
You know, um, they were experimenting with some shit with the Tuskegee Airmen, and that's different than the Tuskegee experiments, by the way,
Yes,
folks out there.
yes, it is.
Um, but they were injecting them with all kinds of random shit. Uh,
So, just real
Agent
quick,
Orange.
yeah.
You know?
Like Samuel, I don't know if you want to like maybe kind of enlighten people the difference between the Tuskegee experiments and the Tuskegee Airmen. It might help a little, because some people don't know.
Yeah. So I'm honestly not sure why they share the name, other than the location, but the Tuskegee Airmen were a division of black pilots for the I want to say
World,
the Army Air Corps at the time during World War
yeah, it's
II.
no, World War One.
Was it World War One?
It was
Yeah.
World War One, yeah.
Oh, right. Because the Red Tails, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, but they were pilots, and they were kept separate. It was a segregated division. And I don't recall a lot of stats off the top of my head, but from what I understand, they were responsible for quite a few enemy kills and successful
Oh, yeah.
missions.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely, they were.
yeah, and they were fucking war heroes, is what they were. But they did get treated differently. They did get experimented on a little bit. Obviously not to the extent of the Tuskegee experiments, which took place in the United States and kind of inspired the eugenics craze of the 1930s in Central Europe.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yep. They happened in the 20s. The Tuskegee experiments, obviously taking place after World War One, from the Tuskegee Airmen, but they were uh, disgusting experiments, and it did inspire eugenics, which ultimately
Mhm.
inspired Mr. Mustache Man, and Mr. Mustache Man and his eugenics inspired Planned Parenthood. So
You
Yeah, so it kind of comes full circle, actually. Um, it's all evil, but yeah,
yes,
they and I don't have a lot of details on that in front of me either. It's been a minute since I read about that. I do remember that it was some pretty horrific shit. They were some of the stuff you hear about, like Mengele doing to the Jews, like deliberately giving them frostbite on one foot to see how long it would take to fall off, kind of shit, like that sort of thing.
Yep.
Injecting them with random crap chemicals, caustic agents, just to see what would happen.
And this is, and the disgusting truth is that this is how we've made massive leaps in modern medical science to this day, is because of what Joseph Mengele and the Nazis did to the Jews. And that's very disgusting. And it's not something that anybody supports, obviously. But unfortunately, it's one reason too that of course our rocket program, right, and, the United States, Gemini, Apollo, stuff like that, took off is because of the work of the German scientists that came over that were working on the V2s to ultimately bomb neighboring countries. But hail Frostfang.
We got yes, definitely welcome. Werner von Braun, who was brought over as part of Operation Paperclip, who was the
many
rocket
Nazis
science yes, but Werner von Braun in particular was the scientist who perfected the V2 rocket. His work is what led to all of our success in not only intercontinental ballistic missile technology, but also reaching orbit.
And there's a lot of push and pull on whether or not Werner von Braun was a true believer in what the Nazis were doing. There's good evidence and support that it did, and there's a lot in support that there wasn't, and it ultimately was the push for the moon that made it look more like the fact that he was more passive than actual aggressor. And he just wanted to be a scientist. He wanted to reach new worlds. He was the Elon Musk of then, right? Elon Musk wants to reach to Mars.
He was one of a number of extremely smart people on the German side. Another one was Albert Einstein, who also defected to the United States at that time. And there were a number of them. There's a reason that we didn't imprison these guys, that we put them to work, because they were very smart people. And Werner von Braun in particular, I believe, and I'm probably going to butcher this quote, guys, so forgive me, but I believe what he said after the first successful test of the V2 rocket, which was a weapons delivery platform, that the rocket performed perfectly, except that it landed on the wrong planet.
Yes.
Because he wanted to explore the stars.
Yeah, but, he don't want to explore this planet. He don't want to. But the thing is that at the time, because the Nazis, which are a group that massively fascinate me, and the reason is because this is a horrendous ideology perfected by horrible people that literally almost defeated the world, and that's not a joke. Like, had it been reversed, and these scientists had not defected, came to the U.S., ultimately led to us dropping the atomic bomb on Japan, and had Germany drop the atomic bomb on what was New York, right? That was
make no mistake, they were absolutely working towards that.
Absolutely working. That the sleeping giant was the ultimate threat, right? The United States, that was separate from an ocean away from all of this kind of stuff, that was the most powerful country because it was sitting in wait. We were sitting in wait and supporting these other countries, but we were ramping up our economy. We were ramping up our military, knowing that war could come to our doorstep. We were the sleeping giant the Germans were afraid of, and that they needed to put us on our knees immediately. Because if you don't make the giant kneel, then of course the rest of the world is not going to kneel. So had they nuked New York, the United States would have ultimately probably kneeled to the Nazis.
Yeah, well, you've always had that. War always breeds innovation and stuff because you're motivated to become clever and learn new sciences and stuff like that when you're at threat, when your safety's at threat. So it's always been that way. Like, didn't the original kind of what's the word I'm looking for? My brain's just farted right now. During the Civil War, I think they were actually cutting people and like rubbing the illnesses in it, kind of like vaccines do, but
Yeah,
it was like
sort
a
of like
makeshift.
forced exposure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
forced exposure with putting it into their blood because they didn't want all the soldiers to die from it. So they were actually experimenting with that in the Civil War to try to get them just a little sick so that they would actually become immune to the sickness and not be taken out by it. So I mean, it forces that stuff. The same thing, you know, the rockets, they had to start inventing those because they're all like, we have to be first to this. We have to make a more efficient way to kill the other guys. So war's always kind of driven innovation and stuff
Well,
for
and
ever.
and to kind of piggyback off of what you said, Devil, there's a YouTube video that actually shows the growth of the United States and many of the European countries during World War I, during World War II. And the thing is that the countries actively at war like would be kind of ramping up, and then all of a sudden when they would clash, the innovation would kind of like peter off, right? Because they were actively fighting each other. So these giant leaps in technology would be hindered by the active war going on, but the United States continues to keep skyrocketing, right, during World War I. And then we get involved and we kind of start to peter out a little bit. And then of course World War I's over, the United States, all these countries start kind of building back up again. Then World War II happens, these European countries, they start petering off, and they start almost kind of like nosediving a little bit because World War II is more bloody than even World War I was, right? The United States keeps skyrocketing, and then when the United States gets involved, we start to kind of like level out. But the thing is that the growth of the United States has been so drastic because we were adjacent but not involved, that we became the world stage for power. And then ultimately, like even when we got involved in World War II, it's been known to say that, like, you know, that Winston Churchill said that we just won the war when Pearl Harbor happened because the United States just woke up. And it's an actual quote of, we just won the war because the United States is going to come in and start mopping the floor. And it's ultimately what happened.
So what we're saying is, if those hackers really wanted cat girls, they just have to start World War III.
I mean, they're trying like hell. They're trying like hell.
That's really funny, Devil.
Like, we got to burn all this shit down so that we can get some mutant sexy cat girls.
That's pretty good. Not the cat girls again.
Right.
I don't get it. Like, you can even
Yeah,
see cosplayers that like do like the little cat girl thing or like the elf thing, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Like Belle
Like,
Delphine.
Like you're really attractive. Like, I get that. That's great. Like, because you look like a human, right? And I'm attracted to human beings. I'm a human, but you like the elegance of, like, say like an elf or something like that is because it is a humanoid. It's very human adjacent. You know, like Lord of the Rings, it's even said that there are probably some shared characteristics, right, between the two species, but they are ultimately different species. You know, and I don't get the cat girl thing. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's, well, with the elf thing, there's a kind of an otherworldly quality to them.
Yeah.
With the cat girl thing, it means somebody was banging the household pet, which is gross and weird.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know where the evolution of from this came from. Whether it was maybe anime, I would possibly
Probably.
assume.
Probably.
But like, you
probably.
know, anybody can watch Lord of the Rings and say, hey man, you know, Liv Tyler, she looks pretty fucking good. You know, or you know, even Kate Blanchett, you know, is she looks good, right? Well, and it's one of those things that I don't understand I guess the lore behind, because, you know, all these
Stab.
I'm just saying, I understand that element. I didn't say I don't care, quite frankly.
Ryan likes women who look like Asian rockers.
Hold on. We could change it now to Ryan the dirty elf fucker or something like that.
No. I think
Aging rockers.
fucker. Yeah, Aging rocker.
rockers.
She looks like her dad.
So somebody needs to do a meme of a Tyrannosaurus Rex with elf ears.
I don't think she looks 100%
Ryan popping
like
out
her
the
dad.
cueca.
Oh,
I mean, Liv Tyler looks a lot like, she does look like her father, but she also obviously gets her attractiveness from her mother. Because Steven Tyler's just a
yeah.
weird, gaudy looking dude, right? He's like people are,
Steven
oh my
Tyler
god,
looks like a
Mick
girl.
Jagger, and it's like, no, I don't understand like the attraction anybody ever had to Mick Jagger. Like he's weird looking.
Yeah, he's a bit of a clown, that man.
What in the
It's
blue
the
fucking hell, dude?
it's the rooster walk. That's what gets him.
That is not anything that I would do that to.
Wookie.
Really?
What the hell,
I'm
man?
kind of a
You
you
draw the
know,
line at long ears, but you'll stick that freakish tongue of yours up an asshole.
I didn't say up. I never said up. You said up.
Just around it.
There's a reason it's called
Yeah,
tossing some salad
just lick
or
it
rim
clean.
job. Never said
Licking
up.
ears is so gross. Oh,
Like you said up.
damn.
So I don't know where this is coming from. Don't put your weird shit on me. It's like- and two, you're an eldritch god there, sir. So you have tentacles and weird shit going on. So I don't want to hear it there, Mr. Fetish Man.
I have a
Yeah,
problem
but
with
it's like
so much
I am
of
the
that shit.
fetish.
He's like, I am the fetish.
I
Oh, this
don't-
has
I don't
gone
like-
so off the rails.
I don't like
Yeah,
belly
yeah.
buttons. I don't like ears. I just all that shit. Just
I just
weird.
don't well, like I said, I get the cosplay thing, like that's great, whatever, you're pretending to be something. Obviously, this is where I think cosplay
Bills
is
makes a
more,
point.
maybe it has to do with the werefolk fetish. What the hell's a werefolk? I mean, gals
Like
were
all the
crazy.
Team
Oh,
Jacob bitches.
yeah. Yeah. I don't think they had a thing for him when he was a wolf. Well, maybe
Are
they
you
did.
sure
I don't know.
about that? Are you sure?
I don't know. I hated Twilight. I thought it was shit, and I was unfortunately forced to watch 4 out of the 5 movies because I was dating a girl at the time who loved them, and I was like, these are fucking horrendous, and I'd rather stick my finger in a wall socket.
All right, Ryan
you
runs
poor
in there. I
bastard.
got the tickets, honey, so you can force me to go see these.
No, it's not what happened. Like, see, Harry Potter's another one I don't get. I never was a huge fan of Harry Potter. There are fucking Harry Potter fans everywhere. They're like, oh my god, Harry Potter's the best thing ever. I'm like, sure. Like,
Yeah, I
I
guess.
just don't get it. I don't get it, guys. Sorry, I don't get it.
I don't. Yeah, I never watched more than 10 minutes of Twilight because that's all it took to get what I wanted.
Well, I was actively having sex then, so and I was
Yeah, so was I.
24, so I mean, I give myself a little. Well, no, I was 23 when we met. She was 20, I was 23, so I give
Yeah, no, all I had to do was sit through like the first 10 minutes of it, and then
no Grimm's bar. No, vampires do not sparkle. They're evil creatures that rip your throat out. That was the gayest thing ever. Like the shimmering vampires. See, and this is another thing I don't get too that took off with the ladies coming from a fucking book. 50 Shades of Grey. If that shit took place in a trailer park, it'd be called fucking Deliverance. Okay, like I don't want to fucking hear how just because he has billions of dollars, like it's all of a sudden sexy because he ties her up.
You know what's even better is that 50 Shades of Grey is Twilight fan fiction.
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Some
Well, that makes a lot
Twilight
of
is
sense.
shitty writing, and so some lady decided to make even shittier writing off of the shitty writing, and it became successful. Go figure.
Yeah,
I remember with it when that was the whole craze. The books took off. Every girl under the sun was reading them, even some dudes. My fucking like my mom read them. I think my aunt read them. I like people I know read these, and I'm like, oh, what? And I was just like, I didn't get it then, right? Because it was a huge craze. And then they're like, oh my god, the movie's coming out in like 8 months, and I'm like, well, they rushed that. And then the first movie came out, and then they were already talking about a second one before it even released. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I've never
they
seen
got
any
to
one of those movies.
capitalize on all the lonely women who have nothing better to do with their time and read fantasy novels and trib.
And I still hear that fucking song to this day. That was the theme song for the first movie, like from like so I listened to this radio station in Colorado. It's called The Vault, right? So because it plays like older music and like modern stuff, like all the way back to like the 80s, like when I was growing up, I listened to 80s, 90s. So anyway, but they play that stupid song for the 50 Shades of Grey movie, and I don't know what the name of it is, but I still hear it, and I'm just like, that's part of that shitty movie that everybody like wanted to see, and I still don't get it.
I have no idea what the song is.
I don't know what it is either, but the one that came to mind was the Was
It
it the
goes
Sade song that Boomhauer
da-da-da,
plays whenever he's got somebody
da-da-da-da-da.
over?
I don't know. I I can't remember the chick's name. I think she got like a one-hit wonder, right? I think that was like the only song that she had. She disappeared as fast as the movies did. I
Yeah,
just
no
don't
idea.
get it. I don't get it.
It's I didn't pay attention to the movie. I was too busy paying attention to the booby sitting right next to me.
Well, I mean, you are older than me, so I mean, when did the movie come out?
Oh
I think
07, I think.
so I had just gotten home from the military in '06. So I
Are
was
we
kind of
still talking
transition.
about 50 Shades of Lame?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was in 08. It was no, not 50 Shades. Twilight debuted, the
Oh,
movie
God.
debuted in 08.
I was about to say I thought 50 Shades was like 2012 or something.
Yeah,
If you're
the Twilight movie debuted in 08 because 30 Days of Night came out in 07, the year
That's a
prior.
great movie.
Which, by the way, best on-screen vampires in a long goddamn time.
Those are proper vampires right there. Yeah, they're merciless.
You know what happens
killing
when you put them in the sun? They fucking burn to death.
Yeah.
No, I was just the music that Ryan was talking about. I didn't know if he was talking about music from Twilight or if he's talking about music from 50 Shades of Grey at
No,
this point. I was kind of
there's a
confused.
stupid song that was like this chick's song blew up for the 50 Shades movie. And
I
it's
bet
like this
Kenza would know what
loves
it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah,
Uh,
I bet Kenza would not only know what it is, but he probably knows the lyrics.
yeah,
that tattoo about it.
it's anyway, they still play it on the radio every once in a while, and you hear it and you're like, oh, that was that song that was part of that movie. You're like, and it was like a one-hit wonder and done, kind of like the franchise.
They have a lot of music from movies that like are one-hit wonders, but you remember them real well. Like that 1,000 Miles from When I Wake Up. Yeah, I know I'm gonna be.
'Cause
I
I
know
know
that
I'm gonna
more than I
be, I'm
remember the
gonna be
fucking
a-
movie. I've seen that movie, but
Yeah,
I know the song more than
that's
the
pretty
movie.
good. 50 Shades
pretty
of
grim.
Orange. Yeah, it's just it's one of those things that like you get these weirdo franchises. Like Twilight is definitely one of them weirdo franchises, and I don't think Harry Potter is, right. I get why Harry Potter's popular. It didn't have any, I guess, supposed fetishism to it that I could see,
Didn't you hear the
like
house elves are
Twilight.
Jews?
Wait, the what? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're Jewish slaves is what they are.
Yeah, just like orcs or black people, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Fucking mainstream media. Oh my God, can
No,
you
it's
believe that the orcs are black people?
that whole thing was retarded. Like you remember when Hogwarts Legacy came out earlier this year, right? And everybody was just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you got to ban this game." They weren't just saying it because of the supposed turf status of J.K. Rowling, although that was a big part of it. They're like, "Oh, you got to ban it on this principle." And when people weren't doing that, they started putting these articles upon articles upon articles and tweets and all this shit out, breaking down how anti-Semitic Harry Potter is and why you shouldn't support it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the trolls at the bank they're Jewish
Yeah.
people.
Because
And black people are
Dobby is a Jew.
goblins. Yeah, and
Mhm.
all it's so stupid.
And it's one of those things too.
Projection.
Projection your racism much because these people
Mhm.
are racist, right? They see through the lens of race, like, oh, well, you're white, so you're this, you're black, so you're this. It doesn't matter.
You look at it like when they say that orcs are black coated or whatever, right? So you're
Yeah.
like, okay, so you see an enormous slathering green-skinned tusked red-eyed monster who wants to murder everything it sees, and you
Mhm.
immediately think black man.
Yeah. Yes. That's some next level shit right there.
Yeah.
It's like, gee whiz, I can't figure out why and this never used to be a thing, right? Too, like this whole positive racism, like, well, we can't portray black people as criminals because that's just not true. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. No, not all black men are criminals, but it doesn't mean that all black men are good people too. Like we can call a spade here. Like just because you say one, like, oh well, black people have incredible culture because of this. And it's like, okay, well, you could think that they have incredible culture maybe because of that. But the thing is that you don't know anything about their culture. You're just spouting bullshit that you heard from somebody else. And that comes off as is a positive of racism, but it's still racism. I mean, you can say that all white people are evil, like, okay, that's negative racism, but you can say that, well, black guys are the best NBA players ever, and it's like, okay, well, that's a positive version of racism because you're making that based on their skin color. You're not making it based on anything else other than that they're black.
Mhm. Yeah,
There's just
stereotypes are stereotypes, and yeah, some of them aren't bad, some of them aren't. It is what it is. But it's when they start saying that these fictional characters, these fictional creations, these fictional races are supposed to represent necessarily something, in reality. That is not always the case. There are examples where that is the case. Unfortunately, one of my favorite authors, H.P. Lovecraft, and some of his earlier work was definitely using mixed species creatures to represent his distaste for interbreeding between the races.
yes,
He was
and
he wasn't even subtle about that shit, and yeah, that happens. But
he's
when you look
also
at
a
a
product
fantasy
of his
setting,
time, right? Like,
yes and no. There was some circumstances for him that weren't the same for everybody else, like the fact that both of his parents went mad and died in institutions. But
yeah. I mean, I'm and none of us here are saying like, hey man, like, hey bro, we're giving a guy a pass, to be, if he's being racist, he's still being kind of a racist creep, right?
No, but my
But
point is, it wasn't so
yeah,
much about Lovecraft himself. Was that, yes, occasionally you'll find something like that
yeah, but you can't hold the man's whole entire
when
works to
you
that.
take
Also, at the same time,
take orcs in D&D,
yeah.
right?
Well,
Orcs
now
are
in
people, all
what
their
now
own.
in Magic the
They don't
Gathering,
represent
or
any
no,
particular,
it is
group of people in real life at
yeah.
all. Got their own history, their own stories, their own, what have you. And yeah, they tend to be fucking evil. So do the Drow. The Drow are a much more complex civilization. The Dark Elves live underground, do
Well,
happen to worship an evil goddess and are mostly evil, but they're being dark skinned doesn't have anything to do with real life black people. They're fictional characters in a fantasy setting.
but now they've taken it to a new height with D&D. Now you can't have interracial species. You can't have half elk. I'm sorry, half elk, half elf, and half human. Now they're taking
Yeah.
it to a real world beyond the next level of, because guess what? There are interracial human beings on this planet. I know because some of them are actually in my family. And it's like, you know what? I have an uncle that's black. He's my favorite uncle. Him and I get along incredibly awesome because he was in the army. But these people are taking it to a holy shit new level. And yes, and Bernie's like the face of holy shit, because you didn't hear a lot about this, right? But now in D&D, you can it is considered offensive to have
Fuck, they
interracial
got
species.
wheelchair access in D&D now, in a fantasy setting where you can pretend to be any kind of person that you could dream of, anybody that you could want to be, a fantasy, if you
Yes,
will, right? Why in the holy fuck would somebody be a character in a fucking wheelchair?
they
You'd think
wouldn't.
that people who were actually disabled would want to play people who could walk as a
Yeah,
fantasy to
Because
escape.
or
because
even
it's
like they put on a magical pair of shoes and all of a sudden they can walk, and previously they're disabled, right? Like, even if you want to put a little bit of their spin on it. Sorry, Devil, go ahead.
it's because in their mind, victimhood is this trophy, this thing that they want to wears to make them feel better about themselves. It's the reason you have all these TikTok retards who sit there and say they have mental illnesses that they don't even understand. They'll sit there and say, "Oh, I have multiple personalities, and so I'm gonna go to Charles, who is the protector," and they'll like close their eyes, lower their head, and then go, "Hi, I'm Charles." That's not how it fucking works. There's even like debate if there is multiple personalities. Like it's so stupid, but they see these as some sort of badges of honor to have whatever, like I said, whatever mental illness you can think of. They've been trying to say they have it. Oh, I have Tourette's, and they'll sit there and do fake tics.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
in that particular one, that and the DID shit. But the Tourette's in particular is something that they haven't researched because they're just doing the tics part of it. What they don't seem to understand or read far enough into this is that Tourette's is a terminal disease. It causes a breakdown in the nervous system that eventually kills you. Stage 4 Tourette's is lethal.
Yep. Or they don't even
Right.
know that all Tourette's isn't cussing. Everyone, if
No.
you ask them, oh, that's when you sit there and just say like bad shit all the time. No, it's a lot of times it's just tics. It's like you go boop,
Mhm.
boop, like weird, odd little things because your brain's just firing on that.
Sometimes you just click your fucking elbow.
Yep.
For example, I mean, obviously, I don't know if people are actually doing that, but it's and it's also not as common as the TikTok would have you believe. It isn't. It's this is a kind of it's a neurological disorder, right? Something has gone wrong if you have Tourette's. With DID is a psychological disorder, and I don't think they fully understand what that is either. They go around saying like you were saying like multiple personalities. It's like how would you know?
Yep.
From moment to moment, how would you know? Do the personalities communicate? Because if they do, that makes you kind of special. Because in most verified cases, which are very few,
You have no
they
idea.
don't.
Nope.
I knew a guy years ago who had a form of it, coupled with grand mal type seizures. They called it schizoaffective. And yeah, there was like 11 fucking people living in his head. And no, they didn't all know each other. A couple of them did, but most of them, like one would be in charge and the others would be fucking oblivious to what was going on. He'd wake up in places like the primary personality, the guy I was friends with, would wake up in fucking places wondering why he had cuts on his arms.
Yeah.
Kind of shit. It's a fucking nasty disorder.
Yeah. And it's you think that would be a disorder in itself, people who actually desire to have these illnesses that other people are suffering with. It's the same thing I say with the whole transgender LARPers, right? You know it's a LARP because they want everyone to be part of they want kids to have this. If you actually are suffering with gender dysphoria, if you are actually suffering with that mental illness, you wouldn't wish it on anyone else. It is an illness. You don't want other people to be suffering through the same stuff that's hurting you.
Mhm.
But they want all these kids to be transgender. Why would you want that on them if you were actually suffering with gender dysphoria? You would hope that
Right.
no child went through that. You wouldn't be wishing it on them.
Yeah, because the real thing is not fucking pretty.
No.
It's not fun. It's not, some kind of status symbol.
Yep.
It's a disorder in the brain, and the people with the real stuff, they suffer,
Yep.
and there are also very, very few of them, by the way, statistically speaking.
Yep. What, like 0.0 something? Like it's not even 1%.
It's like 1% of 1%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the actual population of the planet, which is, I don't know, a couple hundred people, a couple thousand people, maybe.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Well, if you listen to TikTok, supposedly they're like 60% of the population. Idiots.
Yeah. Well, it's like when they start trying to include the what they're calling intersex now, what we used to call hermaphrodites. That's like, first of all, that's not a sexual thing. That's actual physical malformation.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
that
a
means that
physical
your shit didn't
genetic
form
defect.
right. And and it's got nothing to do with a sexual or personal identity or anything. It's a physical thing.
Yeah, and it's
And
also something.
secondly, it's extremely rare.
Yes. And also too, they have a biological sex, even with the malformation, right? They have a biological basis fundamentally in their DNA.
Yeah, none of them
And
are straight down the middle. They tend to lean one way or the other physically.
yeah,
You
and
know,
it's one of those things too, is that the research is done to say, okay, well, we can do this for your child who is suffering from this genetic defect. It's not oh, I was born with XY chromosomes, and now I want to be a pretty little girl. Like if you're an adult, great, you're an adult, do whatever the fuck you want with your money. You're not hurting anybody but yourself. You're probably hurting your family, but not physically. So, but
Yeah.
when you
Zillage.
start bringing in people who can't talk about, they can't voice or fight back the trauma you're inflicting upon them, you're no different than a predator parent who's decided to grape their child. I'm sorry, you're just not. You're no different. You're inflicting harm on your child.
Yeah. Trying to use that
Zillage,
as
real quick. Occasionally one works. Most of the time they're sterile on both sides of the fence.
yeah.
It's
And
the organs are too damaged to function.
yeah, and to act like that is somehow proof of there being a third sex or some shit is so stupid. You can't sit there and say because this child was born without an arm, that there's naturally people who don't have two arms. No, the natural state of humans are to have two arms. Just because this child was born without one does not mean there's a third sect. It's
I
just
think I've heard Matt Walsh say the same thing, but he used legs.
yeah. It's
Well, now there are people too. Like it's like engaging these people. They're like, well, I'm trans disabled. It's like, well, I want to lob off my legs. Well, you have two working legs. We're not going to take your fucking legs, you psycho. Like you need help. Like it's the
You don't
same
wanna
thing.
yeah. These are people who don't understand what that means. Like, I have a cousin, distant cousin by marriage, who decided he was gonna hop a train one day, right? Big old freight train, middle of nowhere. He's like, I'm gonna ride the rails and get out of here forever and leave my life behind. And he wasn't thinking straight, and he'd been drinking. And even if he hadn't been, the train was moving fast enough because it wasn't near a town that this was a dumb fucking idea in the first place. And he hopped it all right for a second. And the next thing he knows, he's on the ground, and that train has severed both of his legs above the knee. Now, because of the nature of trains and because it kept going and all that stuff, what it ended up doing was pinching the ends of his stumps shut, so he didn't bleed out with the femoral artery being all exposed and everything. But he did lay there for about 6-7 hours before anybody found him.
That's crazy. That's wild. You know what?
Yeah, you
I bet
ask him. You ask him what he feels about these trans amputees.
Like you can ask veterans who have lost their limbs in combat and stuff. Like they have phantom limb syndrome. They can still feel it because it's a part of their body that should still be there. And quite frankly, the fact that you have two working legs or two working arms, the fact that you have a working penis and you want to change that,
Man, the
what,
first
you
6
need
months he
help.
kept falling because he kept trying to stand up.
Yeah, because he
You know,
was used to doing
he
things
actually
one way.
cracked bone doing that. Trying to stand up because he felt that his legs were there.
And that's awful. That's an awful story about these people who just and it just these weirdos need a fucking reality check. That's part of the problem is that we don't do reality checks anymore. We just cater to everybody's fucking whimsical need because we live in a weak society at this point, and we've made it by coddling people.
oh yeah. We've
Yeah, Paul.
we've
Our couch nation.
people underestimate the importance of having parents that are willing to whoop your ass if you're that stupid, like if you're I grew up with parents that wouldn't put up with that crap. If I came home and started saying, you know what, I think I have this kind of mental illness and I'm special, and my dad would have probably put me in my place really quickly about that, And now we have these parents that they just want to make their kids happy. So their kid come home and says, I'm ginger. Ginger.
That could be a thing.
Yeah. Kenzo? No, and they'll back it up. They'll be like, okay, and they'll just support it and start calling them whatever gender they want to be or whatever and shit. And they don't push back even a little bit. You have to set your kids straight when they start talking stupid. You need them, and so I really think this whole pander to your kids bullshit that like parents have started doing is just stupid.
Mm-hmm. I completely
Yeah.
agree. And yeah, what Zillage said, there are people that are breaking their bones, inserting metal rods to make themselves taller. I'm a tall fucking dude. And quite frankly, you know what? Just because I'm 6'4",
That's insane.
it is insane, and it's a real thing. And it takes them years to, it takes like upwards of like a year to properly heal, for them to learn how to walk again, and for them to actually not have pain when they walk. Like, it's a year-long recovery process.
I doubt that they're ever without pain.
Like, look, I get it. I'm 6'4". It's great, right? Being tall in a lot of situations, but there's also a lot of shit where it sucks, right? Getting on a fucking airplane. Samuel can attest to this. I fucking hate flying because it's not designed for people who with my broad shoulders and long legs.
I don't like getting into cars for the same reason.
Yeah, like if I get into somebody else's car that I've never driven before, like, I mean, it's just, unless I'm in like an actual truck, full-size truck, like, I don't feel comfortable in a car. It's just the way
Yeah.
it's just the way it is. Look, just because I'm a tall fucking dude doesn't mean that I'm the sexiest guy on the fucking planet. It means that, you know what? Maybe I grow maybe there's a dude out there who's better looking than me. George Clooney, I'm fucking taller than he is, but he's a better looking man. Sorry, he just is.
Yeah, but I can reach the cookie jar.
It's just one of those things that being envious of other people and going to medical surgery to go out of your way is just nonsensical. So what if you can't reach the top shelf of the fucking at the grocery aisle? I can. It doesn't mean that I'm going to marry a supermodel. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what? And quite frankly, guys that are bigger too, even tall guys, they usually die first.
Yeah. Well, each person has
We
their
walked
thing.
into shit.
Yeah.
Each person has their benefit. You guys are both taller than me, and my penis goes down to my feet. So
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
I mean, he's
yeah.
got I've seen Devil's dick. Like, God, he sent me a photo that one time when he was drunk.
I mean,
thing is
that's
huge.
not quite the brag you think it is if you're only like 3 inches tall.
That's very true, huh?
I mean, I'm just saying, look, we all, and there are stupid things too that of course the world tells us, like, oh, they do it to women too. Oh, women should look like this, or women want this in a man. No, I don't necessarily think so. Not every woman in the world wants a guy who has a fucking 8-inch, 9-inch, 10-inch dick. It's just not a thing.
Most of them can't physically accommodate that. Like
No.
it hurts them. So
Yeah, it's
like I've
physically
known guys with like actual baby arms for dicks, and they have more trouble getting laid than people with small dicks do because they hurt women and word gets around. And they don't mean to.
Yeah.
It's just they're huge.
Yeah, and again, that's not.
Yeah. Most
not
women
doing
are
it
not
on
porn
purpose.
stars. They can't just take anything.
Yeah.
Amen.
So it's these stupid stereotypical tropes of society go around. Well, taller men, they must have more sex because women think they're more attractive. Well, no, not necessarily. Just because women find height more attractive because it can be associated with being more secure. There could be a 5'8" guy who's an MMA fighter and at 6'4". I may have the reach on him, but he's gonna get inside them hands and he's gonna knock me out because I'm a normal dude. I have combat training, but I don't have actual fighter training. I'm not some black belt and so, in these 3 different specialties. He's gonna knock me into next Tuesday.
That's
So
why you don't
it's
let him
just
get inside your reach.
it's easier said than done when you're a professional fighter versus a normie. Come on, man, you know that. Like,
No, that's true. But like like I said, as a
are you really
as a
analyzing this
guy
right now?
well, as a guy who's really tall and also has been a cage fighter, yeah, there's like you don't want to let.
I
Those
didn't know you
little
had
dudes get
actual
inside your
cage
reach.
fighting experience.
Yeah, I've told you about this.
I don't think
When I
you
was
have.
in my 20s. We were doing local underground circuit shit.
What
nothing,
the fuck, dude? You've
nothing-
never told me about this.
I didn't. Oh, I've talked about it on the
No.
channel before.
With me. Must be
Wow.
your
Well,
other
yes,
friend. It must be with Larry because he's black.
Yeah, and blacks are so much better. But no, yeah, I do have some experience with that, and Yeah, you don't. A lot of it was fighting guys who were a lot smaller and faster than I am. You know, what I had going for me was a pretty big reach, and the fact that my pain tolerance is stupid high. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, you don't. I did
I've
stretch a guy out once.
That sounds terrible.
Sounds
The way you
dirty
say
as
that.
shit.
Well, let me tell you this. Like, so I and him, and I got kind of a half Nelson on him, right? Locked his elbows up, and all that stuff. And then I got my legs hooked around only one of his legs because he was a squirmy little bastard. I was trying to get both of them, but I got it hooked around one of his legs, and then and I had him from behind, right? Well, dude was about a foot shorter than I am. And all I did was just kind of like lean back after I locked him in and all that stuff. He said later that he was having trouble not walking in circles.
Really?
Yeah, because apparently I make one of his legs a little longer than the other one.
Oh shit.
Well, I mean, yeah, that wasn't cool, man. Because now I'm all lopsided when I walk.
No, and Zilch says that. He said this a few times actually. I don't know if I've ever actually been on panel when he said that, and if I was, I might have been away from my the headphones or something.
Yeah,
because that is a cool
I'm
fact.
not like Chuck Liddell or
I've done
anything. It was limited experience, but
yeah.
They'll bring it up.
I've participated in a few combat sports, but I have no resume to back that up. Like it's like so.
Now that'll be the first thing you guys can talk to the marriage counselor about. He never tells you anything.
Dude, we need to do a video.
I don't really know him.
Hold on. We need to do a video where Samuel and I are in marriage counseling, or let's say hetero life counseling, and Devil is the therapist. It would be fucking hysterical.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, we need Devil's monotoned fucking personality just to even it. I'm all for this. I'm so all for this. He just doesn't tell me that I look pretty anymore. He just calls me the dirty Rex fucker all the time, and it's like I feel very unappreciated.
I cooked
you are
dinner, and he doesn't show up on
fucker.
time, and doesn't feel like he has to call, and it's like I was just...
show up on time.
Look, I come home.
God, that's funny.
Hard day, and all I want to do is sit down. And the second that I do, it's like, "Hey, will you get this thing for me? Because I'm an inch shorter than you, and I can't fucking get the step stool myself."
Put on just like 3 extra pounds because it's the holidays, and he doesn't want to touch me no more.
This needs to be a YouTube series that we make. That's the wrong button. I meant to do that. I think I know a couple
realities of gay marriage.
Yeah. We could release one episode per week on simultaneous channels or something, like once on episode 2. God, that'd be hysterical. We got to do that. That's probably the best idea we've ever had.
I mean, yeah, Zillich Kohai will probably fix the rest of this later. I have no doubt.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not like that we know a few people who might edit the video in certain ways and make it it's like,
make it worse. Yeah.
And make it yeah.
I'll do it so much that we get kicked off YouTube.
What do you mean that's hate speech?
Right? It wasn't hate speech, it was gay speech.
Ooh, that's a good one. Gay speech. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm using that. Thank you.
I was thinking that joke fell flat.
I like it. I'm using that shit on Twitter. What the fuck was that noise?
All right, we need to get out of here, folks, because I'm about to die laughing.
Sam's gonna shit his pants.
I might piss a little bit.
He's like, I peed a little.
He's
like, I'm now a 45-year-old white woman. I had peed.
I mean, it's like I gave birth. Every time I sneeze, just a little bit of pee comes out.
God, that's a real thing.
I
You've
know.
ever dated? Well, you were married. I've dated women that have kids. It's a real thing.
Gotta get some of those
pee when they
man
laugh.
pads.
Man pads. Look, he says Jesus. New record low,
Okay.
guys. New record. It's like-
Oh man, it's always good to end. If I happen.
oh, sweet Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's I mean we did cover a couple of dark subjects today, so this is a good way to close it out, I think. So why don't we go around the horn? Devil, where can people find you and be enthusiastic?
I'll try. Check me out on Beelzehub. Tomorrow we got Engage and then Get Ranked.
Yep.
And you can find me all over the place. I'm on everybody's show at some point during the week.
Yeah, you're all over the place. I can tell.
Yeah. And check out Beelzepub every Saturday morning at 12 a.m. It's been going real good. So give it a look. See if you like it.
Yeah, no, in all seriousness, I want to promote. I want to give this Get Ranked every Sunday is fucking hysterical. It so much is because Devil brings together these people. Quite frankly, they probably shouldn't be in the same room together, and then they rank stuff, and it's hysterical. It really is a lot of fun. So, oh God, Wookie's got a joke. What? What the fuck? Why is that funny? What? I don't get it.
It's funny because it's absurd.
Is it? Did we talk about necrophilia earlier and I forgot?
No, but I mean, my
Ballbusters, she did.
Yeah.
Oh, not Ballbusters. God damn it! Why are you playing that song?
Because Paul has found that song and loves it.
he
Very dear to him.
all fucking night last night.
Oh God!
All night long, all night. Anyway, Ryan, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, you can find me on Vets Talking, most likely later if I don't get involved with family stuff, because obviously I got a lot of family going on. It's family weekend, so happy Thanksgiving, everybody. But I will be on Star Trek Engage tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. I will also be on the roundtable with Adam the Renaissance Nerd. Before that, it is kind of a bummer. I didn't get a chance to make it to Jed's, Doctor Who watch because we had a big snowstorm. We were having some issues earlier, so I couldn't make it. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be Star Trek Engage is going to be awesome. The roundtable before that's going to be great on Adam the Renaissance Nerd. Samuel, am I running it this week? It's me, right?
That's why you better be there.
All right. Well, shit, bitch. You know what? Number 2, shut up.
I mean,
you're number 1. Yeah. I'm just kidding. No. So yeah, and then of course, after that, I don't think we're doing a Horny Elf gaming stream. So then it should be Monday Night Game of Thrones on my channel, Legion Talk. We'll be doing Game of Thrones season 6, episode 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Don't hold me to that.
I don't know why I'm agreeing to that. I'm just guessing. I don't know from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I don't fucking know either. And I'm on this fucking show.
Yeah,
but thank you to the chat. You guys are the best. That's right. You guys are the best.
Yeah, absolutely. As for my part, I am Sammy the Infamous. This is my channel, also called Sammy the Infamous, because I'm super, super creative over here. We do live streams throughout the week. This one, Bissell Musings last night. Screaming. No, that's the wrong one. Jesus Christ, I can't talk today. The next one is tomorrow, and it's Star Trek Engage, and we will be doing the Squire of Gothos, and we will have Left Eye Ego as our Wesley. So that should be a lot of fun. You can catch me later on Exiled Lioness 2 tonight, barring any sudden scheduling changes anyway. And yeah, that's about it for my end. So appreciate each and every one of you in chat coming. Always a good time, always a pleasure. And also to my panelists, once again, thank you for being here and providing a good conversation and the occasional laugh at depravity.
You're welcome.
Or Devil's Case did laugh at depravity. He just does this laugh. It's so cute. It's like I wanna hug it.
Wow. Devil's catching it from all sides now.
All right. Yeah, definitely go check out Ryan's channels, plural, and Devil's channel, Beelzebub. They're both doing good work over there. So that's all I got. You guys got anything you want to say before we book?
No, man, great
Engage.
show. Like, yeah, engage. Oh shit, wrong show. God damn it.
That works. Remember, YouTube, it could always be worse. It could be raining flaming cobras. Have a great night.
Well, I say every day it's a getting closer to taking a bath with my fucking toaster.